A very good evening to all of you. Distinguished guests, respected dignitaries, speakers, partners, and friends. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the Andaman Ideas Summit 2026 here in Sri Vijaya Puram. As we start the summit, I would request you all to kindly stand for the national song. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for what we hope will be a meaningful and thought-provoking evening of ideas, dialogue, and exchange. Now, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands occupy a unique place in India's imagination and in its strategic future. They are a space of immense natural beauty, but also of immense importance, economically, socially, culturally, and strategically. Today's summit brings together voices from business, infrastructure, policy, security, and development to reflect on the opportunities and responsibilities that come with that significance. At the Wave Andaman, we believe that conversations matter when they lead to insight, and insights matter when they lead to action. This is what we hope this summit will achieve, to create a platform where ideas are not only discussed, but shaped into a broader vision for the future of the islands. We are honored by the presence of all our speakers and guests. A special welcome to all our dignitaries, panelists, and everyone who has taken the time to be here this evening. Before we go ahead and dive into all the important conversations that are lined up this evening, I would like to invite on stage Ms. Rashmi Rao, who's editor, The Wave Andaman, to take us through the journey over the last 1 year and also to share some words with the audience. Rashmi.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Namita. So, the 1 year of the Wave Andaman, it's been a hell of a ride, I would say. So, to say you the least, we have been trying to create a platform in our islands where ideas, conversation, and all the thoughts that happen to shape our islands can be, put together. Now, over the last 12 months, the Wave Andaman has tried to do something simple but important, and that is to create a space where the islands can speak for themselves. We have sought to look at Andaman not only through the lens of geography or tourism, but through the deeper lens of development, identity, resilience, opportunity, and responsibility. In that effort, we have had the privilege of engaging with entrepreneurs, policymakers, business leaders, civil society voices, and citizens who care deeply about these islands. Over the course of this year, our efforts have resonated with audiences both within and beyond the islands. Today, the Wave Andaman reaches more than 60,000 visitors every month through its digital platform. It has built a readership of over 3 lakh people and has achieved an Instagram reach of more than 2 million. These numbers are not merely analytical, they reflect a growing appetite for meaningful conversation about the islands and shared belief that local stories deserve a wider audience. For us at the Wave Andaman, the last year has been about listening, closely building trust and creating relevance. It has been about asking the right questions and bringing the right voices into the room. It has been about making sure that the story of these islands is not told from outside alone, but shaped from within by those who live, work, and dream here. Today, it's not just the destination reached, rather, it's a new horizon discovered. And on behalf of the Wave Andaman team, thank you for being part of the journey. Thank you for your belief, trust, and support. We look forward for continuing this work with renewed energy now on. And before we also move ahead, I would like to feature a film, The Wave Andaman, which gives a glimpse of a small journey of the Wave Andaman for the past 1 year. Can we have the AV, please?
A year ago, a new voice emerged from the islands. A voice rooted in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, yet connected to the national conversation. A voice committed to telling the stories that matter. As the Andaman and Nicobar Islands move to the center of India's development, maritime and strategic vision, the Wave Andaman has worked to document this transformation. From governance and public policy to local aspirations, we have followed the issues shaping the islands and the people driving change. We have tracked the conversations around infrastructure, connectivity, tourism, administration, environment, maritime affairs, and national security. Over the past year, the Wave Andaman has broken several high-impact stories that brought islanders close to the truth. Our journalism has earned recognition for its fairness, balanced, and nuanced understanding of island life. Today, the Wave Andaman reaches more than 40,000 viewers every month. It also proudly hosts Search Andaman, the island's leading business discovery platform, helping connect local businesses with customers and empowering entrepreneurship at the grassroots. From the shores of Campbell Bay to the corridors of New Delhi, we have worked to ensure that the islands are heard. The Wave Andaman remains committed to the highest standards of journalism. Its mission is simple: to tell the truth, to inform, to engage, and to reflect the aspirations of the islands and their people. As the Andaman and Nicobar Islands emerge as a major center of tourism, strategic significance, and cultural vibrancy, the Wave Andaman will continue to amplify island voices and carry their stories to the rest of the nation.
because the story of these islands deserves to be told, and we are proud to tell it.
Well, that was a small glimpse of what we have achieved for the past 1 year. And with your kind permission, I would also take this time to read a small message from our Honorable Member of Parliament, Vishnu Padareji, who is not unable to attend this Andaman Ideas Summit in person due to his personal reasons, but he has graciously sent a message to all of us. So I'm just going to quote him. I express my heartfelt gratitude and warm welcome to the Honorable Union Minister Shri Kiran Rijijuji on his visit to our beautiful Andaman and Nicobar Islands. His presence reflects the Government of India's continued commitment to the welfare and development of the islands. I sincerely regret my inability to be present on this important occasion due to ill health, and I convey my heartfelt apologies for all the distinguished dignitaries for not being able to participate in the program. I also express my profound gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, Honorable Union Minister Shri Amit Shah ji, and all the Honorable Union Ministers for their constant support and for approving several development projects all across Andaman and Nicobar Islands. As the lone member of Parliament representing the Union Territory, I have consistently pursued these matters before the Government of India, and I am thankful that many long pending demands have received positive considerations. Many among the major initiatives sanctioned are the submarine optical fiber cable project connecting the islands with the mainland, the expansion and strengthening of airport, improvement of bridges and road, new passenger vehicles for inter-island and mainland shipping, and the establishment of marine dockyard at Sri Vijaya Puram. Significant progress has also been made in the education, fisheries, tourism, urban healthcare, and welfare-related projects across the islands. These initiatives reflect the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of inclusive development and the Government of India's unwavering commitment to transforming the Andaman and Nicobar Islands through better connectivity, stronger infrastructure, improved education and healthcare, and greater socio-economic opportunity. On behalf of the people of islands, I once again express my sincere gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Home Minister, and the Honorable Union Ministers and the Government of India for their continued support and encouragement. Jai Hind. This was a small message from our Honorable Member of Parliament. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rashmi, for setting the tone for the evening. I really can't wait to get into or dive into the first conversation that we have lined up. Whenever we talk about Andaman, we often talk about tourism, but the government's vision for Andaman and Nicobar Islands goes much beyond tourism. Recently, we had Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav talking about how Andaman could be a global internet hub. What are the challenges that the islands like the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are facing today? In terms of how small entrepreneurs can scale up. We have a whole host of panelists who will be joining us for this discussion, and I can't really wait to dive into that. The topic of the discussion would be harnessing the island economy, tourism, sustainability, consumer access, and service delivery. Of course, island economies require a different lens vis-a-vis mainland. They are shaped by geography. There are challenges in terms of logistics, capital access, labor access, etc. And of course, one needs to balance growth with preservation as well. That of course, that's something that perhaps could be the biggest unlock for the island economy. Now, in this session, of course, we will explore all these issues and how tourism can be strengthened further as well, how sustainability can also be embedded into growth, and how consumer access and service delivery can be improved in practical and meaningful ways. I would once again like to invite Rashmi Rao on the stage to lead this conversation with me. Of course, we have a whole host of esteemed panelists. I would like to invite them on stage one by one. Nitin Thakur, Group President, Strategic Initiatives, PRISM, which owns and operates the popular Oyo brand of hotels, Tanveer Singh, Managing Director, Symphony Resorts, Ibrahim Jadvet, entrepreneur, Naveen Alawat, President and Head Sustainability and Decarbonization, Jindal Steel. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for our panelists.
Check. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. With this esteemed dignitaries sharing a dais, it's an opportunity that I can't miss. And to begin with, if you see the panel, we have an entrepreneur, a hotelier, industrialist, and all of them come from such different and diverse, set of industries. And in our islands, we have it all. But I would like to begin this conversation with an idea from all of you to see if we have all these things, opportunities lying across island, what is one thing that you believe can set the tone for upcoming, let's say, new entrepreneurs, and how can they be a profitable business, but at the same time be sustainable for the islands?
Okay, you want me to take this one? Hello everyone, good evening. We have a great August audience here. Thank you all the dignitaries present on the dais, all the panelists. Thank you Rashmi, thank you Nandita. So to give you a brief, I'm the 4th generation living here, right? The islands is in my blood, in my family's blood. My forefathers were freedom fighters. I definitely did my schooling here, then my undergrad and my masters were in America and Switzerland. Definitely I took a U-turn from all of that and came in the islands because I saw this potential and the idea where this island could go. After traveling around the world, getting know-how, how tourism is working, I definitely could see what Andaman had the potential for. And as Rashmi said, it's not about just setting the tone. The tone has been set. Now the thing is, how do we capitalize on it? There are a lot of projects lined up. There's one island project, one island, one resort project. There's a golf resort project. There are many other projects lined up. There's the GNI project happening. But here, where the thing comes for local entrepreneurs is, where we need to set the tone for them is we need to lay down the policy rules straight up. There should be complete clarity, no confusion, so that when they look into the paper, they know what they're investing in. From the day they ideate the idea to when they'll start, they have a timeline to it. It shouldn't be that a young entrepreneur who's thriving with new ideas, by the time he's able to get the permission, the idea is lost in translation. So yes, we need sustainability, we need rules and regulations, we need CRZ, we need to protect the environment, but on day one, these new rules need to be laid down, communicated directly. And the young entrepreneurs should be invited to all panels and policy discussions. Yes, experience is required from stakeholders from every industry, but every panel should have at least 30 to 40% youth stakeholders, because it's their 50 years from now what they are looking at. It's their future children and generation what they want to build for. So that clarity should be there. And also, if we are encouraging today what Andaman is just missing out on infrastructure, if we want to build infrastructure, we need to realize that this is an island where cost of building is double or triple. Everything comes from outside. That's a reality, and it's nothing new because all islands face that infrastructure challenge, and that's completely okay. But to encourage and to get it to a faster pace, we need to have some kind of an incentive scheme to promote that kind of entrepreneur. Maybe, okay, you can set a limit to it, but the young entrepreneurs who you want, because island has a limitation of providing employment. How many employment can we provide by the government? There is an upper limit to it. We want, the current government, our PM is encouraging entrepreneurship. We want people to come under the entrepreneurship pool to, you know, start their own ventures, startups. So just give them those incentives, make it small, but start it and give them a clear timeline, not just they are going round and round the table. It shouldn't be that.
Sure. Ibrahim, I would like to come to you as a local entrepreneur who's built a business ground up in the islands. Take us through your journey. Would you concur with what he said about laying down the policy and of course about challenges regarding logistics? Were those the major concerns you also faced, and what kind of message would you like to give to budding entrepreneurs in the island?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me as a panelist. So I was abroad for 11 years. So I'm a 7th generation entrepreneur from these islands. My family has been here for the last 100 years. I went to Canada. I did a ghar wapsi. I said, India mein jo abhi jo tarakki, I don't think the abroad can offer that. I came back and I started from scratch. I didn't join my family business. So I definitely understand the pains that, the challenge that I went through it. First of all, I would really appreciate what Tanveer said. This is the same story as an entrepreneur that even I am facing. For example, Andaman is developing in a macro level. 2014 के बाद जब से प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी देश के प्रधानमंत्री बने हैं, जितना अटेंशन अंडमान्स को मिला है उतना आई डोंट थिंक पिछले 60 साल में कभी किसी को मिला होगा. इन आपका केबल से लेके एयरपोर्ट का हो गया एंड लॉट ऑफ अदर थिंग्स, PPP projects, defense projects, infrastructure, highways. But these are all good in the macro level. Micro level में what happens is development एक तरफ से तो हो रहा है, but what about the actual masses, the islanders living here? अब जो PPP प्रोजेक्ट्स आ रहे हैं, हम लोग अंडमान वाले तो जाके नौकरी लेंगे नहीं वहाँ पे. कोई भी अंडमान वाला नौकरी तो करेगा नहीं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे बिजनेस उनके खून में है. But as an entrepreneur, if they want to start something, the permissions जो है, जो भी है, there should be a time-bound frame line in which they can get all the necessary permissions. Now, for example, if I have a land, अब वो land लेके, it is an ancestral land. Now I don't know उसमें मैं होटल बना पाऊँगा कि नहीं, because वो zoning का issue है पहले आ जाता है. अब अगर कमर्शियल के लिए अप्लाई करता हूँ तो 2-2.5 साल हो जाता है, कभी कभी 5 साल में भी कमर्शियल नहीं होता है. देन आई थिंक कि अरे यार वो PPP में तो कमर्शियल हो गया, मैं आइलैंडर 100 साल से यहाँ जी रहा हूँ, मुझे कमर्शियल नहीं हो रहा है. सो सो दैट थिंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स आर फीलिंग. सेकेंड थिंग, जो भी डेवलपमेंट होता है, द डेवलपमेंट हैज़ टू हैपन विद अ लॉजिक पर्टेनिंग टू द आइलैंड्स. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, स्मार्ट सिटी यहाँ पे बना है. स्मार्ट सिटी में आप सोचिए, हयात सिंह जंक्शन में देयर इज अ सिग्नल लाइट, 100 मीटर में वाज अनदर सिग्नल लाइट इन डेयरी फार्म जंक्शन. तो व्हाट लॉजिक इज देयर? वी हैव 2 ट्रैफिक सिग्नल्स इन 100 मीटर्स. इससे बेटर तो ये था कि जब पुलिस हाथ से करता था, दैट वाज मच मोर ईजियर इन एन आइलैंड वे. सो दैट डजंट मीन कि आप सिग्नल लाइट अगर ऑल सिटीज़ में है तो अंडमान में भी आप सिग्नल लाइट डालेगा. सिग्नल लाइट डाल के बातू बस्ती में आई थिंक देयर इज मोर ट्रैफिक देन व्हाट इट यूज्ड टू बी बिफोर. So so these are small things. So I think all the policies, all the decisions, more stakeholders from the islands, should be involved. The Panchayati Raj institution, I'm very happy to see that the Zilla Parishad, the former Adhyaksh and the present Adhyaksh are sitting here. I think more people, we need more people like him, the politicians, the local leaders, the local stakeholders, everyone to, because they are the people who are on the ground. So they understand, what are the issues, what are the challenges that they are facing. So I think ये अगर हो जाने से, then I think Andaman is definitely going ahead and it's on the right track.
What about the challenge of power availability? Naveen, I would like to come to you. Of course, you guys have forayed into small modular reactors as well, participating in India's energy transition. Could power availability be the biggest challenge for the islands? And how can that be tackled?
No, thanks, Nandita, for the question. See, power availability is definitely an issue. But जैसे my colleagues they have pointed out, see, power availability, we have to bring the thinking in a different way. So now when we talk about most of the power that is actually happening in this island, it is through the gen sets and so many things. So with this,
Heavy on diesel.
Heavy on diesel. So, but India actually right now, if you talk about solar, absolutely reached at the peak. And if you talk about the solar plus battery, the cost has come down to whopping 3.3 rupees, right? 3 odd rupees, which is actually lowest in the world. So those things can also be replicated, as my fellow panelist rightly said. I think the scheme come from Delhi, the centrally, all those viability gap funding, the performance link incentives, they are there, but it has to be penetrated at the state level, at the last mile connectivity. So the first mile connectivity is already done. Policy is there, I think probably the best in the world. Right now, our average strike rate per annum, it is like close to 45 gigawatt, right? We started with 1 gigawatt, 45 gigawatt. Though we are not comparing with China, their strike rate is like close to 250 gigawatt. But 45 gigawatt by any means is the best. So that is where I think it has to be, it has to go to the last mile connectivity now. Now the time has come where it has to go to that level. Number one. Number two, there are like this solar plus batteries. It is absolutely implementable. So at least a genset where the cost of electricity, I was talking, the cost of electricity is like whopping 25 rupees, 26 rupees per unit. Versus 3 rupees.
Highest in India.
Is highest in the India, and 3 rupees, it is like already so many projects are there. So that is actually the easy, I think, quick win that we say in English, absolutely quick win. Second, about nuclear being, I think, considered, actually, especially it work very well for a place like Andaman, where everything can work on islanding mode. It is like one island, and you just put take example like suppose the average peak power in Andaman is, let's say, 200 megawatt. You put a small modular reactor of 200 megawatt. Right now the cost is slightly on higher side, but I think Government of India is pushing a lot of efforts, giving 20,000 odd crores to develop this small modular reactor. But I think in times to come, it will be one of the perfect example. It is just like about submarine. Put the fuel, 200 megawatt, one fuel, and there is no explosion zone. It works very well, and 60 years it will just work like this. So I think nuclear can be a potentially be very, very cost competitive in times to come. But right now, I think the cost is very high. So when you talk about SMR, 80 crores per megawatt is way too high as compared to 4 odd crores per megawatt for solar, 8 odd crores per megawatt for wind, and close to 8 odd crores per megawatt for thermal power. But if we talk about the future, Andaman 2.0, 3.0, as we move forward, nuclear is definitely one of the solutions.
Well, coming to Nitin sir, now OYO happens to be one of your franchise where you take a lot of pride in, and we all have heard about OYO, and OYO happens to be someone, any local person, anyone who would wish to travel, they can book in an OYO and can stay. But you have also moved in sector where luxury hotel brands are also a part of it, OYO now. Now coming to the tourism part in islands, we for the past few years, maybe post COVID, we have been seeing a lot of homestays coming up. A lot of small businesses coming up where they are converting their own piece of land to a small resort, maybe not a big resort, but a small staycation kind of a setup. Now, though it is not exactly the same as OYO, but the idea behind it is probably the same. And one complaint that most of the mainlanders do for Andaman is it's easier to go and have a vacation in Bali than to come and fly to Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now, what is your thought on it? How we can encash on this kind of a setup in our islands, and with your expertise, what do you suggest there?
Thank you, and thank you for framing it well. Pleasure to be here in front of all of you. This happens to be my first visit to Andaman, and the history is all around, and it's so pristine. And you're right, I've also been guilty of actually having to travel to some of the Southeast Asian ones. It's just they're just more mainstream, and that's perhaps where some of our lessons lie, right? But before I answer this comprehensively, I have to give context of this company. I know most people in the room have heard of, but don't know what stage it is at, and the experiences we've learned not just from India but outside India. So today, this company, which we've rechristened to Prism, just to signify the fact that we now 35 plus hospitality brands. So we are sort of one of the perfect examples of new age companies, which is making in India for the world. We'll be one of the largest business to consumer global brands to emerge out of India, all our brands combined. We're in 35 plus countries. While most of our technology and work gets done in India, but about 80% of our revenues are coming from outside India. Our major markets are almost all the developed countries that you can think of, which actually are also big tourism magnets and also ecologically responsible tourism. So be it US, many countries in continental Europe, Southeast Asia, Middle East, even Australia, and so on. So now with that context and the fact that this is a company which helps operate 25,000 hotels, and coming to homestays, we are the largest vacation home, summer home platform in Europe, with more than 100,000 such homes on our platform. So we've actually seen, we've had a lot of experience in coastal town and islands homes, whether it's in Denmark coast, on the Belgian coast, on the Croatian islands, and so on. I think there's a lot more that can be done. We've started that initiative in India as well. So in Denmark, we have this company, this brand called Dance Center, which runs a lot of vacation homes. We've brought that concept to India now. We've started with Goa. Perhaps it's time to also explore bringing them into places like this. The important aspect would be something that you guys started off with, which is while all this happens, how do local entrepreneurs and local economy benefits, right? So I think just 2-3 things I would say. An island is not just a landmass with a beach. The whole economy is very different. The costs are very high. There's only so much load that it can take. So I think the 3 things that we can learn, because it's just early days for Andaman as far as tourism is concerned, is to focus on high yield customers. Don't go for volumes, right? A mainland city, for instance, for us, can accommodate the 12,000 beds in just one night. If you think about it in comparison, I think Andaman last year had just 12,000 international tourists throughout the year, right? And we also have this thing that you have now affluent Indians going out to international destinations. And I think last year we spent around 3 trillion rupees, 3 billion rupees outside. So getting in more vacation homes, which are community owned, capacity capped, run through global platforms like us so that they have the online tourism, online demand coming in. But making sure that the people stay longer through concepts such as wellness stays, a whole lot of your scuba and marine certification, because those customers stay longer, right? And ensuring that we develop the multi-island circuit. So they stay longer, they stay off season, and they spend more without taxing the environment too much.
Tanveer, what are your thoughts? How can one really increase the yield per customer? Because the government is also trying positioning Andaman as value driven and not volume driven, right? So, as somebody who has a resort, a luxury resort, how would you look at increasing the yield per tourist?
Okay, so we are talking about value creation here.
Yeah.
So as Nitin said, I'll pull a little bit numbers out. So we saw increase of 120% increase in our domestic arrivals. We were sitting at 350,000 tourists. We got 7 lakh tourists the following year. We were all very happy clapping, domestic tourists. But international arrivals only had an increase of 10%. We grew from 10,000 to 11,000, right? Now, you have to identify your yield per customer. A tourist visiting Maldives, a yield per customer is, let's say, 3 lakh rupees. But yield per customer visiting Andaman is 50,000 to 75,000. Ballpark, I'm saying. So the only way, how Nitin said, is to increase your yield, reduce your volume. Again, where we lost on the yield was our international client. We need to definitely identify what's the problem that the international tourism didn't grow at the desired rate what domestic took a jump at, right, definitely we will see our yield going up with projects like, we have a very nice project coming up called the Rangachang Golf Village, which has a 18-hole golf course, convention center, everything. There's a new upcoming project also which is called the Goodwill Estate, with the consultants and eco department is deciding. So, but the whole idea with the project should be to focus on wellness and medical, so that we remove the seasonality part from our business, right? We don't want an off season. With wellness and medical tourism, something what Singapore is doing, or Malaysia is doing, or Turkey is doing, we need a year-round period, and we need to give people a reason to come to Andamans. Not everyone will just come, you put in 10 hotels, everyone is doing mice weddings. That's not the type of client you want, that people come in for 2 days, destroy the place, you know, increase your waste, you're not sustainable anymore. You don't need that. So you need to give specific projects, identify them, especially like golf has a reason to come, wellness has a reason to come, medical has a reason to come. And definitely we are working along those lines, but it needs to be encouraged on more platform. And especially today, a destination like Port Blair, which is becoming more like a transit place, needs like a medical or wellness or something to anchor it, and not like a bunch of 10 hotels which is just doing mice and weddings. And secondly, I'm telling you, I'm very happy that the government, ANETCO, Niti Aayog, is putting out nice projects like these. They're giving out, auctioning nice parcels of land. But where I'm concerned, as we earlier said, with the local community, is that if we don't skill them, right, if we don't provide those institutes or we don't educate them, our local community won't be able to take advantage of these opportunities, because skill has the most lead time, right? To create skilled people, you have the maximum lead time. So if we start today, then only our local population, our local youth will be able to participate in the growth story of this. So alongside these nice hotel projects, we do need an international class, a gold class hotel management institute, finishing institute, a medical institute. That helps our local community also to grow along with these projects.
Now, as Tanvi said, you know, we are on the right path. It's just that we are slow probably. And you also picked up on the off season that happens to be our pressure point, you know. Ibrahim, I'll come to you. How does other businesses suffer due to off season? Because we have always spoken about tourism being affected by off seasons, but nobody thinks about a lot of other businesses get affected by the same. And that's a micro tourism effect, but it in the ground reality, it's a something affects each and every household in our islands. So what will be your thought on that?
So definitely when off season comes, so because of tourism, everything is interlinked. Once, first of all, the air prices goes up. And if no tourist comes here, then definitely, hotels khali jayega, people won't be able to sell more vegetables, more fruits. Everything is, linked with each other. Even FMCG business, you won't be able to do much more sales. So I feel, as Tanveer rightly said, we need to have an off-season attraction that can attract a lot of tourists here, because tourism is our main thing. Apart from this, even if we focus on fisheries can also not be done during these months because it's completely raining, monsoon. So similarly, as we look for more attractions, I would also like to say that Andaman Nicobar has a very beautiful local culture that needs to be promoted. So I run a handicraft business. There are a lot of handicrafts that you see in Andaman Nicobar Islands. People buy, tourist buys here. They are not from Andamans, sadly. The shells that you buy, the pearls that you buy, everything comes from Chennai. You buy it and then again you take it to Chennai. So we need to, promote local artwork, local handicraft. You go to Mayabandar, you see the Karen community over there. You go to Nicobar, you see the Nicobaris, the basket making, the boat making, the miniature models. So these are something which needs to be promoted more. For example, I feel a technical institute should be set up by the local administration, which should train the Nicobaris on making their own handicrafts. Very sadly, in today's the newer generation, not a lot of Nicobaris know even how to make what their parents used to make. In fact, forget about the handicrafts, they don't even speak in Nicobaris. We need to promote Nicobari as a language. Nicobari should be the third language in all Nicobari schools in Nicobar district. There should be signs in Nicobar, English, Hindi and Nicobari signs in Nicobar. Similarly, that's how we promote local language, right? And then, in fact, they are also very good in singing. They are very good in music. So, these things, can be a very good attraction in the evenings. यहाँ पे people come here, tourists बोलते हैं रात को भाई करने के लिए कुछ है नहीं, कहाँ जाऊँ? सेल्युलर जेल तो हमको देखना भी, बहुत लोग जाते हैं, बट बहुत लोग ऐसा भी नहीं, हमको सेल्युलर जेल नहीं देखना है और डिप्रेशन हो जाता है, हमको कहीं और जाना है, ऐसा भी बोलते हैं. तो उसके लिए क्या है, ठीक है, आप सेल्युलर जेल आपके लिए एक ऑप्शन है, लाइट एंड साउंड शो आप देख सकते हैं. अगर आपको लाइट एंड साउंड शो नहीं देखना, यू गो टू अ कल्चरल विलेज वेयर यू विल सी ऑल द ट्राइबल्स परफॉर्मिंग देयर, वी हैव Nicobaris, we have Karen, we have the Ranchi community, we have Tamil community, it's like a mini India thing. You can develop a nice thing how you have in Delhi, I think Chokardani or something like that. We can have a food stall, a food street. So there are a lot of things to do. Great Nicobar mein, there's a very famous mushroom which glows in the night. You can make a botanical garden here with so much mushrooms. उसी से आप पर डे का 500 रुपीज़ टिकट रख देगा, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कमा लेगा बहुत. There's so much opportunity. A lot of people in the room know Andaman has a state flower, which is very similar to the cherry blossom that we see in Japan. We make Marina Park, we make all the Gandhi Park, but we don't put that state flower. No, our next generation will even forget about the state flower. Make a street where we put both the trees, on both the sides. Let's make it a cherry blossom festival, something like that. And that happens here. So if you go towards Bamboo Flat right now, or if you go tomorrow, if you ever get a chance, you'll see a lot of purple color flowers. It looks very similar, and on the floor also you might see a lot of flowers there. So these are the things this is the actual beauty of Andamans. Development, yes, definitely. We need development, we need good infrastructure, we need better roads, we need water, we need electricity. But these are some soft tourism. Prime Minister Modi, I know whenever he goes abroad, he says, India has a soft power. So this is Andaman's soft power. And jab Andaman will grow, definitely we need to promote these soft power. Then only we'll be able to, have a sustainable development.
Naveen, coming to you, of course, since you've spoken about how Ashwini Vaishnav wants to, establish, government has more aspirations when it comes to Andaman and look beyond tourism. If the government has your ear for 60 seconds, what would you like to suggest, or what would you like to, lay out to the government, so that they can establish this place as a data center hub? Because internet connectivity is not an issue; it's the power issue that's mainly plaguing the island, right? So, what should be done for the government to really speed up, that ambition that they want to establish here?
No, very good question. Three things I would say here. Number one is data center. I think can be a very good opportunity, and for that, I think nuclear coupled with data center is amazing, because for running a data center you need round the clock RTC power, right? And nuclear is definitely the answer. So small modular reactor can be definitely a solution. Second, there is a maritime services. I think that can be promoted in this place. The nursing and maritime, especially the colleges, that can, because skill is definitely, I agree with one of my panelists that skill is definitely be on a critical path. As we move forward, we don't have the skill manpower. In our industry, iron steel, the most conventional, very old industry, if I have to call, like take a call that who can be the top potentially future leaders in who can act as a CEO, I won't be able to cross one. So that is how so I think maritime industry can definitely be one of the industry to be developed here. Plus the third is the bunkering hub. This place can definitely act as a bunkering hub, and going for a low carbon emission fuels like blue methanol or ammonia. They can be like, power is the crux from electrons, how you convert to the molecules. So now three places have been identified. On the eastern coast we have Paradeep, on the western coast we have Kandla, and southern coast on Tuticorin. So beyond Tuticorin, I think this can also be a potential hub that can be developed, and as a bunkering hub, and it can work really well. So that is how I think we have to the growth in the island has to come apart from the tourism and the service industry, and as a data center can be I think future opportunity for this island.
I think with all the audience here and with this one session, let's say this is the beginning of such ideas, with very young minds sitting in, this can be an opportunity for them to retrospect on their ideas, and maybe who knows, in coming days we might have a Andaman Blossom Festival happening in our islands, or maybe a data center, coming up with some ideas with energy being a sustainable, backed up energy. So I think this can be a nice initiative, and we are setting that stone as the Idea Summit, rightly intend to. So I think thank you so much to all of you, and with this all suggestion, probably we'll take this all as a way forward from here on. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for joining in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If I was to just say what he suggested in 2 words, right? The attractions, Instagrammable attractions is the way, right?
Of course, that's the thing. Hold on, gentlemen. I would like the CEO of the Wave Andaman, Anamika Karati, to please come and present our esteemed panelists with a hamper.
Everything that is speaking of the culture and the sustainability, all the trinkets that we get in our islands, we have it all here. I'll be giving it to you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We had some ideas about Cherry Blossom Street, Instagrammable spots, data center hub, developing, the artifacts industry as well. So yes, ideas are flowing thick and fast, but I think we should move on to our next fireside chat. A very important conversation. The theme would be strategic infrastructure, maritime connectivity, and indigenous capability building. So we move from consumption to the manufacturing side. Infrastructure in a place like the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is far more about roads and ports. Of course, we've already spoken about hospitality and so on and so forth. It is also about resilience, access, supply chain, strategic mobility, and the ability to build local capacity for the future. Of course, our esteemed panelists also mentioned the cost factor and accessibility factor. So a lot of challenges are there. But, of course, we will be having our panelists come in and discuss more about the manufacturing side. But let me invite Deboshi Chaki, who's a senior journalist, on the stage. In fact, I would like to say why Deboshi has agreed to come and conduct or lead these important conversations. Now, Deboshi's association with the island is a deeply personal one. He grew up here, he completed his schooling from here, and I think he has great affection for the islands even today, and his relation with the islands remains as strong as ever. And it's this enduring affection for the islands and his keen interest in the future of the islands that has brought him here. So we also have an outstanding panel for panelists for the discussion that he will be leading. Captain Ujjwal Vasudeva, Senior Deputy General Manager, L&T Precision Engineering and Systems; Sumant Alawat, Chief Executive Officer, ABJ Shipping; Devki Nandan, CFA Whole-Time Director, JSW Infrastructure; Chairman, Indian Maritime Center; and President, Indian Private Ports and Terminal Association; and Captain Milton Asir, Deputy Conservator, Marine Department, Chennai Port Authority. May I request our speakers to kindly take the stage, and with that, Deboshi, the stage is all yours.
थैंक यू एवरीवन। आई नो इट्स सैटरडे। मैं अंडमान में बड़ा हुआ हूँ, मुझे पता है कितना मुश्किल होता है सैटरडे के दिन ऐसे आके 3-4 घंटा बैठना। तो फर्स्टली थैंक यू फॉर दैट। सेकंड, थैंक यू टू ऑल ऑफ यू गाइस। आप सब आए, कोई 2 फ्लाइट पकड़ के आप आए। सुमंत हैज़ बीन हियर फॉर सम टाइम। सर आप यू केम टुडे मॉर्निंग जस्ट, एंड सर you also came from Chennai port, by the way. So amazing, collection of experts. So this is a unique day in my recent memory as far as Andaman and Nicobar is concerned, you know. Another thing I was telling the organizers, it should not be a Gyan Sangam, you know, where we talk down to people, say, कि ये होना चाहिए, वो होना चाहिए. It's a collective effort to think together, you know. A lot of people in the audience will have far more deeper understanding of the nuances, you know. We may say something, you know, and the reality, on the ground reality could be very different. In those situations, you know, feel free to interject and talk to us. So that's absolutely something that we are looking at. It's an Ideas Summit, and ideas are always welcome. Now coming to our panel discussion, today's discussion is about infrastructure. And when you talk about infrastructure, I think two most important things are ports. There is a lot of talk around ports. You know, the Great Nicobar project has been in the public discourse for a while now. And then there is the question of power. And of course, ports and shipping go together. Let me first go to Devki sir. He is also the president of Private Ports and Terminals Association of India. So basically, जितने भी private ports operators हैं India में, Adani's, Jindal, तो you are part of Jindal Infrastructure. So all of that, he's the boss. Let me start this discussion with your opening remarks. What do you think of the port potential of Andaman and Nicobar Islands? And draw from your experience, if hypothetically speaking, there was to be a port, there is a port in Great Nicobar in Campbell Bay. क्या लगता है? What kind of business opportunity do you think there is?
So good evening to everyone who has come and spending their valuable time here. And first of all, thank you to the organizer to invite me here to speak. And before I answer directly to your questions, I also want to highlight a little bit about India, where we are in India. I think it may take 1 or 2 minutes more, but then it will be very relevant about speaking about the micro and the fundamentals of India, and then I'll come back to the Andaman Nicobar. It's very important to understand because they are co-linked and they are related. So if you see, if you compare the developed countries, which are called G7, the recently G7 summit is also there, and there are E7 countries, which are emerging countries. So in 2023, so the G7 countries had economy of $46 trillion and E7 is 31 trillion. So we are quite far behind. But by 2050, the G7 will be 69 trillion and the emerging country will be double of it, almost 138 trillions. So basically the emerging country like India is growing much faster. And if I say about the purchasing power parity, which is very important in the entire context of the global scenarios, so the China will be almost 20% of the entire world. India will be second, which will be 15% of the entire world's GDP in PPP will be India actually. So it's huge, and the EU and then US will be 12%. So to cater that kind of economy in 2050, it requires huge infrastructure. I mean, really something which is very big about it. And if you see, there are a lot of other fundamentals in India which we have. For example, consumption storage, everybody talks about it. So India is powerhouse of the consumption. So in FY23, we have 3.4 trillion consumption. 28, we have 5 trillion consumption. And 30, we have 6 trillion, we're going to have $6 trillion of consumption, internal consumption, which I'm talking about. It's huge. Then we have very young and youth population. The future entrepreneurs will be from India. Today also many of the Fortune 500 companies are from India. And then technology, if you see the fintech, 6G and semiconductors, almost 50% of the entire world's digital payments are from India alone. So the entire world is one side, India is one side. And then almost 170 million demat accounts we have. Not that much population of entire, some countries have. That much demat accounts we have. So what I'm trying to say, and then of course on top of that, we will be in top 3 countries by GDP wise. Our GDP is also doing very well. And the investment grade rating, India is now, the upgrade lesson happened in S&P also. So if you see it in our India scenario, as a country level, will be going forward, will be in number 3, number 4. Now I come back to the marine sector or maritime.
So business case for ports, is that what you're saying? So there is enough demand and supply to
Absolutely.
ensure that there should be
But
port
I
led
also
development.
want to highlight one more thing. If I see in where we are in marine sector, or infrastructure sector as a country, and then there is a scope for what the Andaman Nicobar can do, add into that one. So if I give 2-3 indexes, so within the competitive index, we are at 41 rank actually, and logistic performance index, we are 38 rank in India. And then shipbuilding, we are 16. Then liner connectivity, which connects to the cargo, we are 16. Means we are much far behind than for this sector actually. And that's why the India Maritime Vision 2030 came, and the Amrit Kal Vision 2047 came. So all these are extremely good. But then what we need now? We need mega ports to improve from this level to go to the number two.
How many megaports do we have right now?
Right now we have none actually.
None?
Yes.
Acha.
So the answer lies there. If you want to be superpower, we have to go through that channel, which China did it. And then, of course, we almost about 90% of our cargo is transshipped in Colombo and Singapore. Now imagine that our cargo is going to Singapore. And the Singapore and Hong Kong, if you see the history of them, has come through the container cargo. Actually,
So we have to first send to Singapore, and from there, so that's the hub.
Absolutely.
Acha.
So
Okay.
quite a lot goes to the Singapore and.
So why
all
is
these
that we have
places.
not been able to build a
So that's where
megaport?
the Andaman Nicobar is coming now.
Acha,
That's
okay.
the
Alright.
story which I am trying to say today evening, that all people who lives here should have been proud of. The one crown jewel is going to be added up here by the government of India with 46,000 crore rupees of investment, and this will be a really game changer for this. Why? Because almost there's a shipping route which is passing through. It's just 40 kilometers from the shipping route. And then the Chennai high-speed connectivity is coming up here, Chennai, Andaman, Nicobar. So if we have data connectivity, the optic fibers, and then of course once the PPP project comes, there are all other ancillary industries will come, like fueling, which we talk about, shipbuilding, we have n number of things, and then the cold storage, and which will help fisheries. So n number of skill development, and then the lot of things are for the main people who are living here and can add skill and can work there. So going forward, this will be a really game changer for this, not only for this place, but also for India. That's what I want.
All those, anybody who's thinking about the environment part, I must add that there is another panel after this where we'll talk about that. But for the time being, coming to Sumant, how are you seeing the Andaman opportunity? Are you happy? You have just started operations here. I think how many? 2 months, 2-3 months?
No, it's been 4 months.
4 months. How's been your experience? Scope for
Yes,
improvement?
Of course, there is a scope for improvement, but I think what Devki was saying, if this project is executed well, it's definitely going to be a game changer. And shipping has to contribute to execute it well in terms of, moving your construction material, everything. You only have 2 ways of doing it, either via air or sea. Obviously, that kind of a scale you can't achieve via air. So shipping has to be a key factor to be countered and considered in this. What we see now, I think we have only 7 ships plying from mainland here. Those are 3,000, 4,000 tonners. Obviously, that kind
What
of
is the average holding period for cargo right now in the ports?
is out.
And what do you think? Why is that not there in the first place? No, I don't want to, be as diplomatic as you want to be. But I'm just asking, why do you think? Despite, हम तो बचपन में जहाज में जाते आते थे. Everybody realizes what are the shortcomings. Why that you think has not happened so far?
I think the government has started focusing on this, and the focus has come, we can see in policy making, and what I can only think is that the focus was not there from previous governments or whatever the previous regimes. But as a new entrant, we see, the local administration is very supportive. They've been very fair and transparent. We've had a lot of hiccups, but we see the policies, we see there is a need for new entrant, obviously, and but then there is a lot of resistance from existing players, which we think is a very short-sightedness on their part.
Right. Could you sort of elaborate in the sense, because you also mentioned that this somewhere ultimately because of the unevenness of the market, it's the customer on the ground who ends up paying a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, आप कुछ भी खरीदिए, you have to add the transportation
And
part of it.
That is true. That is because as I mentioned, there were very few tonnages which were catering to this main island, and I would say the efficiency was not there. And there is basically, if you ask me, there was a duopoly. There are two operators who were catering from mainland, and when you have duopoly or monopoly, you know the answer to this, right? So that
How much
needs
do
to
you
be
think the
changed.
cost of goods will come down if the situation resolves?
Well, after we have come down, I mean, we have started our service. I think I'm not the right person, but you should ask, the islanders here. But I think it is somewhere around 30 to 40%. We have brought the cost down.
तो बेसिकली अगर आलू प्याज ये सब चीज़ें लेनी होंगी तो उसके बाद में the cost of everything is going to come down, if these issues are resolved. I mean, something needs to be done about it. I think there are enough pointers what needs to be done, and I'm sure the administration is doing its best to solve this.
They have.
That is there. Now coming back to our previous discussion about the opportunity that Andaman Nicobar presents. So I was reading a little bit. So we are on a very crucial shipping line. Although Colombo and Singapore are options, but these mega vessels, they actually have to take a detour to reach these areas. Now, if assuming there is a big infrastructure project like the Great Nicobar Port, will a company like L&T Defense think about starting up manufacturing operations? Because you'll be very close to where the strategic areas are, as far as India's defense is concerned. What is your view on that, Captain Ujjwal? Sorry, from L&T Defense, for those who he missed. L&T Defense, as we all know, is in the forefront of building some of the most complicated pieces of defense equipment. And yeah, over to you.
Yes. So happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me here. Before I dive into the question, I would like to acknowledge here that I've seen a great sense of great energy and involvement here amongst the organizers. So whomsoever I was speaking to, so they were like, we've been invited by them and we cannot say no. And it was so much of passion that I saw here, and I personally believe whatever is done with a lot of passion gathers a lot of momentum and sees the light of the day in the positive sense. So best wishes to the organizer, and I hope it really takes off and does well from here. Now coming to the question here, now we have very recently seen the Iran-US conflict which was there. The Strait of Hormuz became the discussion point on every news channel, discussion points and all that, because that is where all the the ships are coming from there. Okay, so it was becoming a choke point where you could stop the thing and everything down the line is getting affected. So similar is the situation from here. We are hardly 150 miles, like Indra Point, if you see, from Malacca Straits, the western tip of that, there's hardly 150 kilometers from there. So we are in that zone where almost 1/4 of world's trade is passing through, and almost 100% of the East Asian countries' energy is passing through. So it's a very, very strategic place where we are right now here, and we are discussing at that place. And to your question, yes, that project will become, it will be a game changer. I feel so, because if we are able to tap in geographically, we have that advantage. It's a very big strategic advantage that we have, and we have to utilize it. Maybe we are a little late, but never so late, I would say. And as regards to L&T being a party to it, so L&T Precision Engineering, which is taking up various projects for the defense, which requires developmental as well as manufacturing and other projects. So we are happy to partner for the country, increasing the capability wherever we can, contribute to the best to our capacities and capabilities. And whenever such a requirement comes from the government, we are at the forefront to bid for it, see to it that we do our best to deliver. So coming back to the point here, I feel that what we need here is that we have the demand is there. We have to see how we fulfill that demand. So it may be deep water ports where the merchant vessels can come and they can dock. The repair support, if the one which we can give it to them, I am slightly more inclined towards that because I am an engineer myself, and see to it that we have a faster turnaround, which he just mentioned, 24 to 28 hours, and we have to cut it down. We have to cut it down drastically. What we see right across what is happening in Singapore and Sri Lanka, I am sure we will be able to replicate it, we'll be able to do it, and we'll be able to do it better, and opportunities are there for us to grab it and take it on. So that
How many jobs you think something if L&T sets up a facility? I know this is a very, very up in the air question. I'm fully aware of it. But in general, could it sort of create a sustainable sort of a platform where children, might find employment after a point?
Yes. So to that question, there are two aspects to it. One is the direct jobs which will be there. So at the time of construction, at the time of facility development, there will be some jobs which will be created where people will be involved in getting that thing going. The second part will be in sustaining that. So there will be jobs which, with respect to port services, with respect to the repair services, that is like we'll require welders, we'll require fitters, we'll require people who can run the port services, we'll require project managements, we'll require the logistic services to that. So a lot of indirect jobs will get created for it. And I feel in my like ballpark, what we are looking at, I think 6 to 8,000 jobs can get created if we look at all these services combined, because I am taking it sector by sector. Each sector divided equally also will come to that number.
Now coming to Captain Milton, sir, if you could share some nuggets of your insight from Chennai port, and if you compare with where Andaman right now is, what are the key takeaways for the port and shipping sector here?
Yeah, I come from Chennai.
You can use mine now.
So as you all know that I'm coming from Chennai port, so to give a little bit of insight, like what as port authorities we are doing. We come under Ministry of Shipping, and so the last few years, like maybe we say like last 10-15 years, we not only looking at how efficiently we are working, we are also getting to partner with other stakeholders. For an example, to tell you that this just about a question which was discussed, that why it is taking so much time to discharge our load here, and what's the turnaround period. So what is happening is that SCI is our government company which was there. Last 3 decades we did not add any more vessels. The fleet size was the same. In fact, it was reduced. Now currently the government of India has given certain initiatives where we are partnering, like SCI, Concur, like some.
How many new ships are coming, you feel?
Yeah, so we the strategy is around till 2047 we are going to acquire some about 59 vessels, and
what class of vessels?
This is all container vessels, different sizes we are coming up. So therefore this question where connecting Andaman to Chennai kind of would be a solution to it, to bring down the cost, because when the government of India comes in, definitely the bigger chunk of that capital that would be taken by the government. So therefore definitely this cost will go down. And also the main part is because even the port authorities are going to be partnering into that. It would be definitely keeping a good accountability on those, how it has been operated, so that is also going to be a big takeaway.
Also, since you're from Chennai ports, I want to ask you a very, very key question, because we are discussing ports here. What's been your understanding of the ecological impact? You run ports, many ports. I think there are how many ports under Chennai port right now? Overall, I think more than 5. I mean,
with government there are 12 ports.
12 ports. Okay. What's been the ecological impact? Do you think it's completely destroyed the ecosystem around it, or it's kind of exaggerated, this notion?
See, certainly, it would have some impact, but we cannot straight away say that there wouldn't be any impact. But we need to, these are some things which we need to look into it, a country like India, where because maritime presence is not a presence locally, it is making a presence in globally. So therefore, any, these decisions would have certain impact, but then we have to take this bullet. Keeping in our country is development, growth, job, all those things coming into place. And now, especially the construction business, like, ship, this is something which is not a local market, it's a global market. And therefore, we should get into those space, otherwise we will be loosed out. And creating such a space here, which is very centralized in the Bay of Bengal. So strategically, it is a very good, geographically, it is a very location which would really be an advantage for a growing India.
I recently, in Mumbai where I work, I met some senior policymakers, and my key takeaway from that discussion was the fact that, government wants to create champions, like China has created champions. China has big oil companies, it has big tech companies, and they have received all kind of support. Now, if India were to do something like this, do we have enough players, domestic players, who can take up these challenges? Can we build a megaport? Do we have the expertise? I want to ask this to Devki sir.
So the answer is yes. So just to give example, like Adani is the biggest, so they have created almost, they are handling 400 million tons of cargo.
Can JSW also handle?
And then the second number is JSW. We are handling 120 million tons of cargo, and we are already operating 10 ports and 3 greenfield ports which have been made from the scratch. And one more thing I wanted to give is JSW infrastructure, like we are constructing 3 brand new ports.
Where are these ports?
So one is in Odisha, which is already like 70% complete. Second is in Maharashtra, and third is in Karnataka. So on the both sides of the coast, we are making ports. So the making the greenfield port is not that easy, and maybe 2-3 years of job. It takes substantial amount of time. And I think it will be great then when this project comes. There are a lot of other partners like JM Baxia, etc., and then DP World, PSA. The foreign players are also there. But one thing certainly is there, that in India the container cargo is controlled by mostly the foreign shipping lines, because we don't have our own shipping line. Shipping Corporation of India and all these companies are a little bit smaller in size. And then
so we have Sumant right next to you.
Yes.
You want to answer why that is the case? We don't have enough shipping lines?
No, one of the thing was the ports, that we did not have a transshipment port. We were using Colombo and Singapore, as you mentioned. So the bigger vessels come, they dump or they offload their cargo at these bigger ports, and then the feeder vessel, the small feeder vessels, they carry it to Indian ports. So that is what I think the Indian government is trying to do with this GNI project, to make a transshipment port, which which makes it easier for our tonnage. And
Colombo also you have to use feeder vessels. It's not so people have this notion that a transshipment port should have hinterland connectivity. So that is not a prerequisite.
No, not at all. No. So this is an ideal location, as he said. We are almost 80 nautical miles from the entrance of Malacca Strait. So Singapore, what is their existence? The maritime ecosystem is what has given them the edge in the world, which is what they are capitalizing on. And we are 80 miles from there. Of course, we can definitely, they are 50 years ahead of us, but we can definitely catch up. If it is executed well, we are there.
And L&T Defense, you think, it works logistically for you to sort of use this route for all your supply chain requirements, plus if you are exporting?
So as regards L&T Precision Engineering goes, we are into defense business, in the sense we are making defense equipment and systems. So as part of that, we don't have much of need for that. But whatever required, it can be utilized from these sea lines.
Sorry, I was talking to my colleague. I'm so
no
sorry.
problem. So I'll
Sorry.
just repeat. So I said from the L&T defense
Yes.
side, which is precision engineering. So we produce like systems for the defense forces. So wherever it is requiring
Right.
it to be used for the sea lines, we can
Sure.
use these. Yeah,
Right.
we can use these lines, but then not as a continuous running business.
No,
will
I
not
was
be.
intending this more on the lines of new ports coming up. So it definitely
Yes.
eases supply chain for you.
Yes, it will help out. Yes.
And Sumant, how are you business forecasting with the kind of demand Sir just talked about?
Oh, definitely, we are very upbeat about this. If this project has to, if this is executed, not only us, a lot of bigger players have to chip in. The scale will be beyond imagination of existing players. So we will need all hands on the deck, as we say in Marine.
Right, and literally so actually.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. So any last, parting observations? Yes, sir. Please go on.
Yeah, in my opinion, this project should have come at least 40 to 50 years ago, not
Absolutely.
today. Because see, the Singapore and Hong Kong and all these big location, big cities have developed around the port. So actually, they are taking quite a large share from us only. So we should take our own share. If you proud ourselves, we should keep it for security reason, for all variety of things. We should be self-sufficient, which our Prime Minister is talking about. So this project is already late. And one more point which you have added is about the environment. I think is quite a lot exaggerated. It's not that much that, yes, some small amount will always happen, but there are now technology available. There are almost zero damage to the environment. These kind of precautions, measures, technology already available.
Let me ask you a little controversial question. How do you deal with controversies around your projects? There are always political stakeholders, asking you to do this or that. How does a JSW group or a APJ, you had to deal with a lot many trade unions. I don't know what is the current situation of the new government in Bengal.
Well, of course, the things have changed. So-called Parivartan has come. So it's a part of the business. I know I think we all grew up in this ecosystem. We learn to survive. That's what we Indians are best at. So I think when the ease of business comes, everything grows. Not only us, the community, everybody, the end consumer gains it.
So, आपको लगता है ease of business has become improved? Has it improved over the years, in the last at least?
Certainly it has improved a lot, and like whatever I am seeing the industry here, I find that there is a lot of like energy in the industry, and a lot of young lot is also coming up to take on responsibilities to add on in their own ways. So like the bigger companies, they're trying to get AI into the stuff, but then I see really on the ground things are happening which are helping in productivity improvement. So yes, there is an improvement, and I find a very positive change on that side. Yeah.
So how much capex? Do you mind doing capex in Andaman if everything works out for you? Are you okay?
Capex in the sense, like I said, if a government project comes and
You
we
will be part
bid
of
for it, we will participate.
What about you, Sumant?
wholeheartedly.
Are you going to open offices and employ a lot of local people?
Definitely, yes.
Huh?
We've already done some investment, and we are coming up with more.
I'm not
Be
going
rest
to
assured.
embarrass you by asking if you're going to bid for the Great Nicobar Port project, but if you still want to answer it, you can answer. And how are you going to help the local economy?
So absolutely, I think this is a very good project coming up by the Chennai, and I think the major port authorities are building it initially, and then they will bid out on PPP. So we are one of the largest PPP operator in India as a port. So it's definitely a very good project for everybody, and I'm sure the local population for job, employment wise, it will be phenomenal progress.
I mean, yeah, I think the local population also realizes that we have to start looking beyond the government sector for livelihood. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. On that note, we'll move on to our next panel.
Anamika Karati, CEO of Wave Andaman, to present a hamper to our esteemed panelists. Deborshi, please stay back. We will get the next panel on as well. Thank you for a very, very insightful discussion there, Deborshi. But let's quickly move on to our next discussion as well. Sure. The next discussion then, we've already touched upon the changing geopolitical order because the US-Iran conflict extended for more than 100 days, mind you. So it's only pertinent that we discuss internal security, India and the changing geopolitical order. For that, joining us this evening are Tuhin A. Sinha, National Spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party and author, Rami Desai, Distinguished Fellow, India Foundation, and Gaurav Sawant, Senior Managing Editor, India Today Group. Well, I've only had the privilege of watching Gaurav sir on TV, and today, of course, I have the privilege of meeting him in person, and I look forward to meeting him after the event as well. Look forward to a great discussion. Deborshi, the stage is all yours.
Shall we wait for 2 minutes? I'm setting up the table so that the Honorable Governor is on his way. Thank you, everyone. I hope all of you enjoyed the last discussion. It was largely on business, but here we are discussing a very, very important topic which all of us relate to, and we feel it every day, which is internal security, and also to large extent what we saw in the last 1 or 2 years, what we are seeing in the Middle East. Thankfully, it has resolved for now. What we saw with Pakistan. So we have very, very esteemed security experts who are going to talk about these challenges that our country faces in the through a lens of Indo-Pacific, Bay of Bengal, Andaman Islands, and the India's eastern seaboard. Let me start with Gaurav. Gaurav, you have been a security journalist for how many years now? 30 years? About 30 years. What has changed? Has it become good, bad, ugly? And when you look at Andaman, as a security threat, how do you feel?
तो दुनिया की अगर दृष्टि से देखा जाए तो इस समय आप जहां देखें वहां युद्ध चल रहा है। रूस और यूक्रेन के बीच युद्ध जो मैं 2022 में कवर करने पहली बार गया था वो और भीषण हो गया इस समय। पिछले 2 दिनों में जिस तरह की बमबारी हुई है वो बहुत जबरदस्त रही है। ईरान इजराइल की लड़ाई अभी अगर सीजफायर भी है लेकिन खतरा यह है कि किस दिन और भड़क जाएगी। तो वॉर इज बिकमिंग वेरी अनसर्टन, it can get triggered anytime. We also Pahalgam and then Operation Sindoor undertaken by India, and before that in 2020 we reported Galwan and post Galwan Operation Snow Leopard. The situation remains extremely volatile. अगर भारत के परिप्रेक्ष्य में बात करें तो भारत हर मोर्चे पर जैसे जैसे भारत की सामरिक शक्ति बढ़ेगी हम हर मोर्चे पर घिरते जा रहे हैं। खतरा पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर पर भी है, चीन बॉर्डर पर भी है। रामी बेहतर बताएंगी कि किस तरह से पूर्वोत्तर में आपका नेपाल का बॉर्डर, वहां तुर्की और विदेशी ताकतें जिस तरह का पैसा लगा रही हैं आपके बॉर्डर, वो ओपन बॉर्डर है, वहां पर खतरा बड़ा हो रहा है। बांग्लादेश का बॉर्डर बड़ा खतरा है, म्यांमार का बॉर्डर हथियार तस्करी, वहां से हथियारों की तस्करी, ड्रग्स की तस्करी, ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग, वो बड़ा खतरा है। बांग्लादेश का बॉर्डर एक और बड़ी समस्या है। तो आप ये देखिए आप हर बॉर्डर पर घिरे हैं। इन समस्याओं का समाधान कहां पर है? जहां हिमालय में समस्या है वहां हिंद महासागर में उसका समाधान है। ये आपने स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज को देख लिया, जो चोक पॉइंट को कंट्रोल करता है वो आपके देश को डिफेंड करेगा, और यहां मलाक्का स्ट्रेट एक चोक पॉइंट है जिसको आप डोमिनेट कर सकते हैं।
Sorry, Rami, you want to give some insight into... So I'm asking this question for a very personal reason. I mean, you have covered Northeast extensively. और हमने देखा है अंडमान में narcotics is a big problem. We are part of that Golden Triangle route. I think all that gets produced in Myanmar border side, and I've worked in the Northeast also. Why, the frequency of that is going up? Are there some external forces involved, or the industry itself has evolved so much?
Deborshi, can you hear me?
I think your mic is...
Now? Yeah?
Much
Yeah.
better.
You know, I have to agree with Gaurav that we have a situation that is brewing that we haven't seen for a very long time. Unfortunately, the problem with us is that for majority of our post-independence mindset, we focused on the northwestern frontier. The northeastern frontier has not been studied. We don't have scholarship on it. We don't have that kind of intelligence on it. And it's a very complex frontier. You know, you look at the kind of inter-ethnic rivalries you have, affinities you have, transnational ethnic boundaries they traverse. And to say the least that you have 1,643 kilometers of porous borders with Myanmar, not counting Bangladesh and the maritime border. Now you ask me a question of narcotics and everything is linked, and this is something that I really like.
Our honorable DGP sir is also sitting, he's just joined I think a couple of weeks ago.
So I'm sure,
This is straight his department.
So I'm sure he'll add to what I'm saying, but the specific problem that you've asked me about narcotics, and it's very difficult just to talk about that because everything now is interconnected. It's very difficult to look at things, solo. But after the ban of poppy cultivation by the Taliban 2.0, they found a ready-made supply chain in Myanmar. Myanmar was in a state of conflict. A lot of the EOs controlled a lot of the areas. Therefore, poppy cultivation became easier. But it's not just about poppy cultivation, it's also about synthetic drugs, which does not require any sort of climate, any sort of climate or any sort of vast pieces of land. So you can grow them you can make them in laboratories.
I think many of us watch Breaking Bad, so they know amphetamines and how to...
Methamphetamines. It was 2024 end that the Indian Coastal Guards caught $4.3 billion worth of methamphetamine yaba pills in the Andaman Nicobar Islands. You see trawlers coming, maritime waterways being used to transfer this apart from land borders. So to answer your question in the brief time that I have, Myanmar is in a state of conflict. It's controlled by multiple ethnic armed organizations to fund the kind of conflict that is going on and that's going to continue going on. And you need this kind of money. UNODC estimates, and they only take an account of 10% of what is got, it to be about $40 billion, and that's only 10%. So you can imagine what, it was such a big problem that Bangladesh during Sheikh Hasina's time actually enacted the death penalty for traffickers, because it was not just consumed by somebody who was addicted to drugs, but also people who were working on multiple time zones, because methamphetamine, especially yaba pills, keeps you awake for a couple of days, But again, we're looking at it in a silo. It's not just about methamphetamines now from Myanmar, or it's not just about drug usage and addiction, but it's about, let's say, a state like Mizoram or Manipur. It has the highest level of HIV because of intravenous use of heroin. And to add to that, we've just got a huge shipment of Captagon, which is coming from West Asia. Jihad.
No, absolutely. Coming to Tuhin, you are national spokesperson of BJP, plus also as a security expert. You've just written a book on Naxal terror.
Expert.
Is the government aware of what Rami just said, and what is the government doing about it?
सबसे पहले दिवशी मैं द वेव अंडमान को 1 साल के सफल ऑपरेशन संपन्न होने पर हार्दिक बधाई देना चाहता हूँ। इस यात्रा को मैंने आरंभ से देखा है, और 1 साल में जो, जैसा मैं कह रहा था, प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी हमेशा ऑरेंज इकोनॉमी की बात करते हैं, और उसका एक जीता जागता उदाहरण है द वेव अंडमान, वेयर द लोकल्स हैव टेकन द लीड. सो एनीवे, कमिंग टू द टॉपिक, देखिए, कांग्रेस के ज़माने में एक शब्द का उपयोग होता था, टिरनी ऑफ डिस्टेंस, दूरी की यातना. तो वो उन्होंने नॉर्थ ईस्ट में भी उसका उपयोग किया था, कि that essentially meant कि when the problems which we are talking of are so distant from Lutyens Delhi, why bother about it immediately? आज जो problems exist हो रही हैं वो 20 साल और भी exist करेंगे, तो किसको, हमारा क्या बिगड़ेगा? वही अप्रोच अंडमान निकोबार आइलैंड्स के प्रति भी उनका था, वही जो नक्सली दूर दराज के इलाके थे जहाँ नक्सली आतंकवादी सक्रिय हो गए थे, वहाँ पर भी उनका वो अप्रोच था. तो tyranny of distance was a Congress mindset to ward off problems, to not deal with problems immediately. And that is one very big paradigm change which the country has witnessed in the last 12 years. We take problems head on. तो अंडमान एंड निकोबार आइलैंड भी जिस तरह से पिछले 60 वर्षों से इग्नोर्ड था, and every which way, from a law and order point of view to from a security point of view, from a trade point of view, उसका एक comprehensive निवारण, उसका एक comprehensive निदान ढूंढने की कोशिश पिछले 12 वर्षों में हुई है. तो चूँकि अभी ड्रग्स की बात हो रही थी, आपको पता होगा ड्रग्स फ्री भारत इज़ ऑल्सो अ टारगेट ऑफ ऑनरेबल होम मिनिस्टर अमित शाह जी. और हमारे जो शीर्ष नेता हैं, जब वो कमिटमेंट कर देते हैं तो खुद की नहीं सुनते हैं, तो वो कमिटमेंट पूरा कर ही देते हैं.
नहीं बिल्कुल. गौरव, मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाह रहा था, बेसिकली आप सिक्योरिटी मतलब एक्सपर्ट से आपका रोज़ का नाता है. यू स्पीक टू देम ऑलमोस्ट एवरी डे. हाउ इज द होल strategic encirclement that we have always heard about, the Indian Ocean, Indo-Pacific, with a different kind of a US around us and a different China, much more stronger. What do we need to do? What is the sense that you get? And how important is our maritime presence in this region?
Look, India has to double down and India has to be strong because nobody would want a strong India. कौन चाहता है कि दुनिया में एक ताकतवर और देश उभर के आए जो उनकी बातें ना सुने, उनका पिच लग्गू ना हो. So everyone would want to keep India down. We've seen what happened in Bangladesh. The kind of agitation that was there, हम अपने देश में भी देखते हैं. And since you were mentioning the DGP, we've had interactions in Delhi. जो 2020 में anti-CAA riots थे, वो CAA का प्रोटेस्ट था या कुछ इंजीनियर किया गया था या ट्रिगर किया गया था, और उससे पहले भी ट्रिगर करने की कोशिश क्या रही है हमारे देश में, क्योंकि CAA was never against Muslims losing their rights in India. It was never about that. लेकिन पूरा एक प्रोपेगेंडा देश में, दुनिया में फैलाया गया, चलाया गया. और उस तरह से अगर आप देखा जाए तो विदेशी ताकतें आपको दबाना चाहती हैं. पाकिस्तान नहीं चाहता बड़ा बने, चीन नहीं चाहता बड़ा बने, अमेरिका भी नहीं चाहेगा बड़ा बने. सब लोग आपको दबाने की कोशिश करेंगे और उसके बावजूद आपको बड़ा बनना है. उसके लिए आपको अपनी आर्थिक शक्ति भी दिखानी है, सामरिक शक्ति भी दिखानी है, स्वदेशी हथियारों से ही दिखानी पड़ेगी. एंड दैट माइंडसेट हैज टू कम फ्रॉम विद इन दैट वी कैन डू इट against all odds. So when it comes to, I came to Andaman Nicobar the first time in 2004 when the unfortunate tsunami happened. A large number of people had lost their lives. I'd come with the then Home Minister. We traveled to Nicobar. Lots of lives had been lost, and I came subsequently to cover a lot of reconstruction work that was happening and also naval exercises that are happening. The more you show your maritime presence here, whether it's your military presence or your economic presence, you just need to show your presence. You be strong here. People respect power. If you show power, people will respect you. वरना सब आपको बोलेंगे अच्छा ठीक है.
नहीं बिल्कुल. आई थिंक अंडमान के लोग इस चीज से ज्यादा रिलेट करेंगे क्योंकि यहाँ ऑलरेडी एक बार जापानीज इन्वेशन हो चुका है. In the Second World War, there were Japanese here for 2 years, and there are stories of atrocities, right? We've seen that. So it's not, it's too far away in the past. I mean, there are examples. Now coming to Rami, so what should be India's strategic force projection? What should the country be doing? Look, for example, again in my previous panel, we were talking about the Great Nicobar project. Now there is also talk here, बहुत ज़्यादा militarization हो जाएगा. Do we really need to do so much? What is the sense that you get?
So, you used a word encirclement. And I think that's a very important word because why are we debating it? Every policy that you look at Turkey, you mentioned about Turkey being in Nepal. You look at Turkey's presence in Bangladesh. You look at Turkey's policy of what they want to do in the next 20 years. They've written it on paper. Asia, a new policy. You look at their investments, their strategic investments, whether it's in the defense systems in Bangladesh, which hasn't come through but is expected to come through, whether it is Malaysia, Indonesia, you'll see a systematic investment in any of these countries. Forget Turkey, we know that they have, in this caliphate ambitions. You look at China. We always look at China from the lens of Bangladesh. What did they do in Chittagong, or where are they building a submarine base, or Lal Balinhat has, some presence. We don't look at Myanmar, it becomes too complex for us. You look at Coco Islands, it's 55 kilometers away from us, but then we stop at just Coco Islands. Look at Chop Pho Port. Look at next to Chop Pho Port. You have
this war has shown, the Iran war has shown how difficult it can get.
But see, Iran war has shown how difficult it is because West Asia comes naturally to us, so we understand it. The Bay of Bengal doesn't come naturally to us. The reason we're talking about it today is because it's been put on the map because of the Galathea Bay. It's been put on the map because of what's happened in Bangladesh, that people have even started talking about the northeastern frontier of the Bay of Bengal. But to understand it, one needs to have long-term interest in this region. And I think the Galathea Bay is a very strategic pivot for India, and that's what it should be doing. When we start bringing in debates, and I'm not saying that this is a defense for everything strategic and I don't care about the ecology, but when we start bringing in debates about ecology, not looking at what's happening across the world, as I mentioned, we're talking about Chop Pho Port. What does Chop Pho Port do? It brings China to the Bay of Bengal. Across Myanmar, it gives it a straight line to come from Yunnan to the Bay of Bengal. What is the island next to Chop Pho Port? It's called Onchin. Onchin is where the number 72 submarine base made by China sits, which, yes, has an Indian submarine that we've given to them, but also has a Ming submarine given by the Chinese that's docked there. What do we know about the string of pearls? Because we have some interest in China, but do we know about the metal chain, which is Myanmar's island chain that encircles Myanmar, which and I've traveled to these regions over 20 years. I've traveled by road, I've traveled across, I've met the EOs, I've met, the military, the Tatmadaw, and you will see the kind of presence that you possibly won't see in any other country. You'll see China daily in the airport, in government offices. You'll see huge amount of funding, which obviously they'll say it's a part of their BRI, but we have concerns about dual usage. So, historically, we have to learn that strategic space once ceded cannot be reclaimed. And therefore, it is very important for us to support initiatives like this. For a very long time, we've had this policy that, ab dur rakho, Northeast ke saath bhi yehi policy tha, ab dur rakho, let them decide for themselves. What happened? You've ceded space, you've ceded strategic space.
So isolation doesn't work, you don't think so?
Isolation doesn't work. We have to have aggressive moves like this, and this is hardly aggressive. There's a part of our country, we have the right to develop it, and it's been defended in front of great organizations like the NGT,
Sure. No, I agree. But the leader of the opposition has been very critical of, as Rami summed it up, strategic ambitions, Galathea Bay project. How would the BJP respond to that?
Well, Gaurav was very kind, when he said some people have been spreading misconceptions on CEA. We call it toolkit politics. And, the leader of opposition is a toolkit politician, if you ask me. So when it comes to the Great Nicobar Island, for the last 50 years now, I think the first time it was conceived was in the early 70s. And there were developments preceding that. At one point of time, Indonesia wanted to acquire that island, and I think that is when the Indian establishment woke up to it. And even at this point of time, let it be very clear that not more than 10% of the landmass will be utilized. Of course, there is a plan that over a period of 20 years, some 3.5 or 4 lakh people will be settled. But at no point of time will that impact the local population. But if you look at the strategic importance, the island is barely 150 kilometers away from the Strait of Malacca, which carries 30% of the global sea trade. Future wars are going to be fought on the issue of energy. So it will be a huge catalyst in ensuring energy security because of the port, because of its critical importance to places like Indonesia and Malaysia. Now, at this point of time, अगर कोई leader of opposition उसमें jump करके केवल ये जताने की कोशिश करे कि उससे ट्राइबल्स, उससे जो लोकल पॉपुलेशन की क्षति पहुँचेगी, अगर हम वो फॉलो करें तब तो अफ्रीका का डेवलपमेंट होता ही नहीं. तब तो कोई ग्रीन ये जो ग्रीन एक्सप्रेसवेज बनते हैं, ग्रीनफील्ड एक्सप्रेसवेज, वो तो उनका निर्माण कभी होता ही नहीं. So, we always have to strike a balance between development, between protecting our strategic interests and equally protecting the rights of the local population, which we are committed to. But given the importance of the island, for the future of the country, I don't think it's a wise idea to start that toolkit politics on it once again, which is what we have been critical of.
Fair enough. You saw the Iran war, you saw how asymmetric warfare has played out, how tech has played out immensely. What are the immediate upgrades you think we need, across across our immediate neighborhood at least?
Look, let's keep one thing very clear. Development has to be a constant process, and you have to stay one step ahead of the adversary, because the adversary, and especially the one to the north, is actually thinking 10 years ahead and working on projects 10 years ahead. आपने तुर्की की बात की. ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान आपने देखा होगा कि टर्की के ड्रोन्स पाकिस्तान ऑपरेट कर रहा था हमारे खिलाफ, और तुर्की बहुत एक्सटेंसिवली इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है पाकिस्तान में. पहली बात. दूसरी बात, चाइना ऑटोनोमस वॉरफेयर में काफी आगे पहुंच गया है. हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड में यू टॉकिंग अबाउट एनवायरनमेंट. लुक, एनवायरनमेंट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड whatever conditions NGT has kept on the government, they must all be fulfilled. Truly they must be, but it can't be environment ya security ya economy. It has to be all together. I'll give you a small example. गलवान हुआ 2020 के समय, मैं लद्दाख में था उस समय. चाइना की फोर्सेस बहुत तेजी से आ गई. हमारी सड़कें बन रही हैं. आपको मालूम है कितने वर्षों तक हमारी सड़कें नहीं बन पाई? 73 स्ट्रेटेजिक रोड्स 19 या 20 बन पाई है. क्यों? क्योंकि एनवायरमेंट क्लियरेंस नहीं मिलती. वहां पेड़ नहीं कट सकते, वहां सड़क नहीं बन सकती, वहां वो नहीं हो सकता. चाइना तो सब काट कूट के वहां सड़क बना के आ जाता है और आपकी टेरिटरी ले लेता है. आप यहां एनवायरमेंट क्लियरेंस लेते रह जाते हैं.
I know what you exactly mean.
That really impacted India's deployment, and because now you have some of those, the DSDBO road. I traveled all the way up to Dolakdeg Oldie to report that Galwan, that Depsang hadn't been cut off from us. That road is outstanding, and it results in quick deployment of counter deployment of our forces. So you need roads in border areas. You need anything that will keep your country safe, because if your borders are not safe, पहले भी हम कटे हैं ना, हमारे बॉर्डर्स पहले गए एंड देन सेंटर कट गया. The same history will repeat itself if you don't learn from it.
I agree. I think people should go and stand on the Nathula border and see how the Indian roads are and how the Chinese roads are. They're like huge projects. Rami?
I have to agree, what we deal with, is an opposition that feels their primary job is to oppose. That is not the job of an opposition. You can have a constructive opposition as well.
देश तो उनका भी है.
Absolutely, but to sacrifice everything for politics then tells us what the agenda is. But let me say this, it's not just about China. The Western world, virtue signals us every given opportunity. What about Diego Garcia? Yeah. What about Panama Canal, which displaced over 1 million people? Diego Garcia, there's no way any of that population is going back. Yeah. So who are we listening to? Who are we trying to please? Having said that, this is called the Indian Ocean. Who has primary responsibility towards it?
Absolutely.
And, to cede that responsibility to anybody else will be a big mistake. And I have to say, as somebody who watches this area very closely from a security lens, that initiatives like this is what is going to safeguard a larger national agenda, and that has to be safeguarded over and above anything else.
Fair enough. Tuhin, you think, last word, you think our foreign policy has largely been apologetic for a long time?
Our foreign policy has followed a very clear approach of nuanced. Our foreign policy has followed a very clear, under Prime Minister Modi, the foreign policy has followed an approach of nuanced multilateralism. So, in so far as any conflict situation is concerned, the Prime Minister has been very clear. We are on the side of peace. We don't, rush to be the negotiator like Pakistan has done for obvious reasons. Pakistan is desperate to kind of whitewash its own sins in the past. But if you look at our foreign policy in the last 12 years, Prime Minister, we have removed the hyphenation, the orchestrated hyphenations which used to exist in the Congress era. So Congress always tagged Israel and Palestine together. We don't feel there is any incumbent need to do that. We can be friends with Israel, we can still support the just Palestine cause, but of course the just Palestine cause may not exist now after what happened in October 2023. Similarly, Prime Minister Modi has the rare gumption of sitting with Putin and saying it in front of him that this is not the era of war. So, but at the same time, India will do what it feels is required to protect its strategic interests without succumbing to any pressure at all. And so I think that's what Indian foreign policy is all about.
And with that, we come to the end of this very wonderful discussion. A warm welcome to the Honorable Minister and the Honorable Lieutenant Governor. Thank you so much for sparing your time. We will do a quick recap of what has been discussed so far in the evening, sir. But before that, some felicitation for our wonderful panelists who have taken 2 flights to reach Andaman. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, sir, LG, sir, for making this event so amazing experience for all of us with your presence. I'll just quickly recap what we discussed so far. So our first panel was about how we can induce more elements to the local economy. So tourism remains a big part of it. Everybody agrees. We also had somebody from sustainability, the head of sustainability from Jindal Steel. He spoke about how, how we can basically continue to build, for example, the Galathea Bay project is a big impetus for the economy. It can coexist with environment, it can coexist with sustainability, so there are no conflicts. The other thing that came from Ibrahim Jadwet, he's a local entrepreneur. He said that there are a lot of hidden gems in Andamans which should be explored. There is a particular flower that Andaman is home to. We should probably think of an orchid festival sometime. Jyoti ma'am is also here, something like that. So this was one panel. And the second panel was more about infrastructure. And we had participants from JSW Group. We had participants from L&T, Chennai Port, and there is one more person I'm not able to remember right now. So the entire crux of the conversation was the fact that if India has to grow, we need to have megaports. And there are none right now, So, sorry, I forgot, Sumant Ehlawat, my very good friend, the CEO of APJ Shipping was also in that panel. In fact, Sumant told me that. So Sumant is very keen to, expand his presence in the islands. And, and L&T feels that given the right infrastructure, there will be huge opportunity for job creation. And the islands, the economy probably go 10 times from here. That was the one panel. And the last panel, I think you heard parts of it, where we had Tuhin, Gaurav and Rami. Again, the Indo-Pacific strategy of India and what the recent conflict in the Middle East has taught us, and how
And given Andaman's history, that we have already seen one Japanese invasion, although we were not independent that time, but fact remains that Andaman has been conquered through the sea route. So we need to be very, very, cognizant of that, and we must take all measures possible to avoid strategic encirclement, which the governor, sir, obviously, the former, chief of naval staff, he understands more than anybody here else in the room. So primarily, these were the few things that the evening we all ended up discussing. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot again.
Thanks, Deboshi, for recapping all those important, thought-provoking discussions that we had this evening. But ladies and gentlemen, let me also take this opportunity to welcome our chief guests. Once again, we are deeply honored to have Shri Kiran Rijiju, Honorable Union Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Minority Affairs, and Admiral D.K. Joshi, PVSM, AVSM, BISM, NM, BSM. Honorable Lieutenant Governor of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Vice Chairman, Islands Development Agency. May I request our distinguished guests to kindly come up on stage for the felicitation, and to do the honors, we are joined by Anamika Karati, Chief Executive Officer, The Wave Andaman, and Rashmi Rao, Editor of The Wave Andaman. Sirs, if we could please have you on stage. Now gives me great pleasure to invite Admiral D.K. Joshi, Lieutenant Governor of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, for the special address.
Honorable Minister Shri Kiran Rijiju, organizers of this event, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I wish to compliment the organizers for having conceptualized this very important event, which in my view brings center stage a very critical frontier which has remained neglected over decades because of one reason or the other, and deserves its space in the national mainstream discussion, which of late the correctives have been applied, and that has started getting amended to an extent. And events of this nature, I think, serve a very useful purpose in that direction. Having looked at the list of participants, I realize that there are representatives from senior leadership positions, not only from the hospitality and tourism industry, but from many other sectors, which leads me to believe that they are here to be partners in the Andaman's growth story. And in a manner of speaking, to that end, I think this conclave is a potential investors meet, not only for them to bring in investments into the island, which we certainly hope they do, but to become invested in the idea of getting Andaman its rightful place in the national mainstream discourse. Now, coming to the strategic geographic aspect, I believe some of this has been discussed, but it's a blessing of geography that we occupy the space that we do, dominating the state of Malacca, one of the busiest seaways of the world, through which an approximate 1 lakh ships transit every year, connecting the traffic from Indo to the Pacific. But this has to be looked at in its totality. To this we have to add the total land mass of the Andaman Islands, which not known to many citizens even, is bigger than some of our mainland states even. But there again, it is not a homogeneous mass of so many square thousand kilometers. It is 836 islands spread along the north-south axis for more than 750 kilometers. And whilst majority of them are uninhabited, not populated, but the ones on the extremities are. The northernmost one is, the southernmost one is, and the area over which your administrative reach or governance cover has to extend, because your Ujjwala gas ka cylinder has to reach the northernmost island also, even though it may have a population of just about 100 villages. Your basic Medicare or education infra has to reach the southernmost island, even though it may have a population only of 300. And that area over which your administrative reach has to extend, or the governance cover has to extend, is something like 49,000 square kilometers, bigger than half the states on the mainland, not known to many people. Another comparative perspective is that if one were asked the question as to which are the hottest island tourism destinations in the IOR, the answer would obviously be Maldives, Seychelles, Mauritius. If you add up the land areas of all those three countries, we are bigger than 4 times that area. Another comparison or perspective is, we have in our waters 1/3 the country's EEZ. We have in our waters 1/4 the country's coastline. So that puts into perspective the geostrategic relevance that these islands occupy, which unfortunately remained neglected over many decades, which is somewhat getting corrected now. Now, geography by itself bestows upon you an advantage, but left to itself, it does not turn into leverage. For it to turn into leverage of the kind that you recently saw to our west, you have to populate it. You have to populate it with infrastructure, you have to populate it with economic interests, you have to populate it with industries, and so on and so forth, which regrettably did not happen for the first 7 odd decades after independence. The correctives have been set in place, and that has started changing somewhat now. On the issue of island resilience, I think it's a bit of a mischievous propaganda to brand these islands as tsunami prone. Yes, indeed in 2004 we did have a tsunami, but I think a vast majority of our countrymen heard the word tsunami for the first time at that time, myself included. There are countries in the Pacific, Taiwan, Japan, the 2 Koreas, east coast of China, that have been having tsunamis ever since. We've been blessed and fortunate that after 2004, there hasn't been any tsunami here at all. Insofar as earthquakes are concerned, yes, we are on seismic zone 5, but there are more than 15 countries and locations which have got, in terms of frequency of earthquakes and in terms of magnitude and intensity of earthquakes, occupy a much higher scale. None of this has stopped developmental activities, creation of infrastructure in any of them. There are hardened constructions norms available, there are Building Codes of India codes available, there are National Building Construction Codes available, and you conform to that, and that does not become an impediment into your growth story at all. So I think to that extent that resilience bit is a bit of a mischievous propaganda. So like I said, for the first 7 odd decades, there was virtually no investment in infrastructure. For a territory that even at that point in time was touted as a tourist destination, there wasn't even a single 5-star hotel in the entire Andaman Islands, not even one. The first 5-star came up around 2020, just before the COVID pandemic, the Taj Exotica in Suraj Dweep. These correctives have been set. I'll cover it a bit later. And therefore, things actually have started changing in the last 10, 12 years, specifically from the time on the directions of the Prime Minister, the Islands Development Agency was set up. And hereinafter, I will start talking in terms of connectivities. And to begin with, first and foremost, the road connectivity, which is the smallest segment in any case. Each island has to be self-sufficient in terms of its road network. The distance apart islands is such that you cannot have roads across islands except in the districts of North and Middle and South Andaman, where from 1970s onwards, a single-laned ATR, Andaman Trunk Route, existed. But there were two straits that had to be crossed, the Humphrey Strait and the Middle Strait. So vehicular traffic had to be ferried. You had to disembark onto the ferry, embark at the other end, second time again on the second strait, and therefore a 310 kilometers road travel took you something like 12 hours. Now that is being addressed. One of the straits, the bridge is already functional, state-of-the-art bridge inaugurated by the Home Minister. The second bridge is under construction. The entire project has not been well executed at all. It has seen many time overruns, it has seen cost overruns, but finally sometime next year this will be ready and handed over, and then this 320 kilometer stretch one would be able to cover in less than half the time that it takes currently. It will become double-laned, of course. Next is the digital connectivity. In IDA, we identified that this is the biggest weak area. At that point in time, the total bandwidth available in the islands was of the order of 3.2 Gbps, which essentially meant that on your WhatsApp, you could get a text message across most of the time. You could get a still picture across evenings, mornings, when the network load was minimal. If you took a 5-second video, you would keep seeing that circle going round and round till you came to a mainland airport of Chennai or Visakhapatnam or something. Those of you who visited these islands before 2020 and have visited it since would see the stark difference. So this was identified by us as the first aspect that needs to be addressed, without which neither tourism nor strategic infra, not becoming a strategic hub of any nature, was going to be possible. 2-year project. December 2018, the Prime Minister came down here himself to lay the foundation stone. December 2018. 2-year project completed 4 months ahead of schedule, inaugurated by the Prime Minister in August 2020. 2,600 kilometers of subsea underwater OFC, from Chennai to Sri Vijaya Puram, and from Sri Vijaya Puram to the outermost islands, which brought up the bandwidth from Chennai to Sri Vijaya Puram sector to 200 Gbps, almost a 200-fold increase, and from Sri Vijaya Puram to the outermost islands to 100 Gbps, and the cables have spare cores which are left untapped currently, and this will meet all our network requirements, I would venture to say, for the next 100 years. And with that, apart from ease of doing business and everything else, we should be able to get onto the islands IT and telecom enabled industries as well. Future plans also cater for redundancy, because right now this is the only link we have. The fallback option again goes back to the satellite beamed connectivity of the order of 3, 4, 5 Gbps. And therefore a proposal is under consideration for a Puri or Machilipatnam to Diglipur OFC, but more about it later. With that, I come to air connectivity and aviation infrastructure. Sri Vijaya Puram Airport, all of you would have seen it, state of the art, comparable to any airport anywhere in the world. Came up in 2023, and what passed for an airport prior to that is visible to you across the GOAT as you leave, which was the height of connectivity thing in a capital of a union territory in a tourism hub till 3 years ago. For an entire season, we operated non-stop international flights from Kuala Lumpur. The last season, it did not operate for many, many reasons. We are hopeful for reviving this and additional direct international air connectivities this end of monsoon onwards. This is insofar as the terminal is concerned, but insofar as the runway, there are many, many limitations. It has operations only from the southwestern end. The northeastern end has a Joggers Park hillock obstruction. Besides, there are many other obstructions, and therefore we have proposed a brand new greenfield airport at Sri Vijaya Puram, some 4 to 5 kilometers south of the current location. After several site visits by Airports Authority of India, final site selection has been done. Land has been identified. LIDAR survey has been done. Currently, the consultant appointment of consultant process is in motion. And the proposal we have made is that this should be executed on the PPP mode, like the MOPA of Goa or Jawar of Greater Noida, because the customs and immigration, such facilities already exist here, and the tourism is on the growth. The concept has, in the final scheme of things, 2 runways like Singapore's Changi, 1 PTT, 1 parallel taxi track. So in effect, 3 runways in the final run. To begin with, of course, it will start operations with 1 3-kilometer runway, dual end operations. Another new greenfield airport, you would have read about it, it's recently been in the news, is at GNI. Similar, the original concept and drawings include 2 runways and 1 PTT, both end operations. This will be a dual use airport, all approvals granted. Airport Authority of India has already floated out a RFP for a consultant in this. We expect this, the first phase, to be ready, which will have only 1 runway. The first phase will have only 1 runway in about 5 years, in less than 5 years' time from the date of a contract being awarded. Apart from this, existing runway extensions in INS Baz in GNI and in INS Kohasa in Diglipur are also underway. In Diglipur, all land allotments have been done except for 1 small parcel of private land that is to be acquired, but that is for ancillary facilities, not for extension of runway. So in effect, going forward, along this 750-kilometer stretch of on the north-south axis, we'll have 4 full-length day and night runways: Diglipur, Sri Vijaya Puram, Nicobar, Great GNI. All of them roughly 250 kilometers apart. In terms of flying time, roughly 25 minutes apart. So every 25 minutes of flying time, you will have a full-length day and night runway. And given the location of these islands where we sit, this is an immense capability, the significance of which those who have strategic thinking in this will readily hoist. All 4 are going to be dual use. Udan flights have not yet started. Operator selection is going on. They can start any time. I think some of them will start as soon as this monsoon gets over. Helicopters, hitherto our Pawan Hans fleet had those old Dolphin N3 more variant of helicopters which have a passenger capacity of 5 or 6. 75% were taken over by the administration itself, and then patient load and this, that. The tourists never got to see the insides of this helicopter. We put a proposal for larger capacity helicopters. 2 12-seater Sikorsky aircraft have already arrived. Helicopters have already arrived. To induct them into the Pawan Hans fleet, the codal formalities are going on, but the interim they are flying for Oil India, about which I will refer somewhat later. Apart from that, we have floated an expression of interest for private helicopter operators to come in. I am told 7 bids have been received, they are under process. So the intention is to expand the helicopter fleet also for inter-island mobility. Seaplanes. Historically, very few of you would know that Andaman has the longest historical experience of operation of seaplanes. During the Japanese occupation 1942 to 46, fleet of seaplanes used to be anchored in Sri Vijaya Puram harbor of different variants. Subsequent years, the administration owned a seaplane which after a while met with an accident, is currently on display in Marina. Those who have driven past the flag point would have seen it. Subsequent to that, the administration chartered an aircraft, I think, from Australia. It ran its entire charter duration, but for whatever reasons at that point in time, it was not renewed. Recently, trials in 4 locations have been completed. Sri Vijaya Puram, Swaraj Dweep, Shahid Dweep, Long Island, Diglipur. And the water segment is lagging behind, but I think after the monsoons, we will have these seaplanes in operation service. The operator, outfit called Meh Air, has already been issued the LOI by Ministry of Civil Aviation. Going forward, currently the largest seaplane operator in the world is reported to be Maldives, operating some 120 seaplanes, all of them on charter, not one of them owned by the government of Maldives. These are for inter-island tourism connectivity. But comparing to what we have in comparison to Maldives, going forward, I think we have the potential of becoming the biggest seaplane operator in the world. We are any number of times bigger than Maldives. We have got any number of locations which are yet to be developed and are being developed. And therefore, our inter-island connectivity would be larger capacity helicopters. 4 airfields I have already talked to you about operating Udans and seaplanes. Coming now to the ports and shipping sector, which we believe that apart from tourism, will be the biggest driver of the island's economy and our contributor to the Viksit Bharat vision of the Prime Minister. And towards that end, south to north now, International Container Transshipment Port in GNI, where my task is greatly simplified. I don't have to talk about much. There has been so much about it in the media. But just to capture the salients, PPP mode, phase 1 would have 6 million or just under 6 million TUs. Final phase, it will go up to 21 million TUs on PPP. Majority stake to be held by an Indian-owned operator. With operational control, major investment to be brought in by the private party. And with that, it will be one of the top 2 or 3 container handling ports in the country. But given its geostrategic location, I feel that it has the potential of becoming one of the most important container handling port in the entire Indo-Pacific. But much will depend on who the operator is, how efficiently is the port run, because at the end of the day, it's a private entity who is operating the port. Galatia has already been declared as the 13th major port of the country. Going north from there, in Sri Vijaya Puram, we have executed 2 30-year memorandums of understandings with the Cochin Shipyard Limited. One for upskilling of our HR component, and the other one is for upgradation of our dry docks and other hardware and infrastructure within the dockyard. Further north, Port Meadows is the country's first ship-to-ship transshipment hub, which has already been declared a customs port. We have already executed a JV with the Indo-German consortium called Matsya. Net revenue model for the administration, no expenditure by us, and we only earn annual lease rentals. Final codal formalities are being executed. It's about to be operational. Going further north in Atlanta Bay, next to Diglipur, out here there is a proposal for another deep water multi-purpose port. The pre-feasibility study has been completed by IIT Chennai. It is being steered for us on directions of Ministry of Shipping by the Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Port Trust of Kolkata, because they have the requisite expertise. Preliminary examination of IIT had said that it's a natural harbor without any great dredging and without any requirement for great, breakwaters, etc. It can offer 5 berths of 4 kilometers. But we have had that verified by other sources, and they tell us that without any problem you will get 8 kilometers of jetty space within here, 20 to 30 meters water depth, natural depths, natural breakwaters, minimal, zero dredging. And therefore this would again be one of the top 2 or 3 multi-purpose ports in the country alongside Paradeep and Visakhapatnam. Similarly, again on PPP mode, all the expenditure we'll only provide the basic infrastructure, all the expenditure will be done by the project proponent. So with all this, we see that we feel in the next 5 years itself, the shipping intensity in Andaman waters will go up manyfold, which brings to us an opportunity of positioning ourselves first as a ship repair hub and going forward as a ship construction hub even. And therefore, to that extent, we tasked our administration officers to do a study from open source literature of all the Bay of Bengal rim countries, because we are smack in the center of the Bay of Bengal basin. And going clockwards from Sri Lanka, omitting the east coast of India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, west coast of Thailand, west coast of Malaysia, northwest coast of Indonesia. And the team came to the conclusion that these facilities are at a very, very rudimentary level. And therefore, there is ample opportunity for us to position ourselves in this space. Detailed proposals have been worked out. They are under consideration of various ministries. Coming now to the power sector. If you take 2015 as the baseline, 90% plus was diesel generated and 10% roughly equally distributed between hydro and solar. Unfortunately, there are no river systems in the island, so hydro would remain at that around 5% because of on account of that Kampong Dam. Today, 26, the diesel component has been brought down by more than 20% to under 70. Solar component has been taken up to more than 27, almost 27, and the hydro remains at 433. The next 4 years, we would have reversed it. 71% one would be solar. Just under 20% will be LNG. 50 megawatt LNG power plant is already coming up in Sri Vijaya Puram, and the rest between wind and one marginal component in single digits of about 6-7 odd percent would still remain diesel for emergency DG use only. Now, consequent to last year's budgetary allocation of around 20,000 crores for small modular reactors, we have made a pitch that in those islands where upscaling requirement is going to be rapid, for example in GNI, for example in Little Andaman Hud Bay, which comes up for developmental potential next. Incidentally, here I might mention to you that GNI by itself, that one island, is 1.5 times the size of Singapore. Singapore is today 6 million population. GNI today is 10,000 population. So that gives you an idea of what the potential is for responsible and sustainable development, which brings to the fore the question, what is all this fuss about? Little Andaman, Hut Bay, is 0.9 the times of Singapore. So that is the scale we are talking about, which doesn't, come out only through forums like this, and, propagation of this information will suddenly become aware of it. So on to the SMR, the small modular reactor, it is under active consideration. Several meetings have taken place, and we are very hopeful that some of our islands will perhaps benefit from this. Apart from this, HVDC link, this is the high voltage DC link with the mainland, is also under consideration. Some meetings have taken place. The outcome really is not very clear at this point in time. Maybe we won't need it with the other architecture coming up. Tourism, hospitality continues remaining our, alongside ports and shipping, our most important sector, which will generate revenue, employment, jobs, everything else, and plenty being done in this direction. I had mentioned that only one 5-star hotel was there. Just 2 months ago, we have awarded 4 contracts. All PPP, 2 have gone to the Radisson Group, 2 have gone to a JV consortium of a group called Anantara based in Thailand, a high-end luxury hotel group. Those of you who are familiar with the hospitality industry will know that. All of these are pure revenue models for the administration. We will only provide the basic infrastructure, bijli, pani, connectivity, and so on and so forth. Rest, the concept is design, finance, build, operate. All this the project component will do, transfer at the end of the lease period. All of them clean revenue models. 4 are off the charts. The next 11 are ready for offloading, which will happen in the next couple of weeks. And all of them are spread as compared to the haphazard development hitherto of everything being in and around Sri Vijaya Puram, Swarajdeep and Shahid Dweep only. These will cover from the northernmost point of the islands to the southernmost. To promote tourism, whilst all facets of tourism will be bolstered and given impetus, we have identified certain niche areas, amongst them scuba diving. And towards that end, just last month, we created 2 Guinness World Records. The one on the 2nd of May was the largest national flag underwater, 2,400 square meters, 60 by 40. 2 years of planning, 6 months of preparations, 3 months of intense practice by more than 200 divers from different fields, all of them pitching in voluntarily. The ones coming in from the dive industry actually losing money in the process, because in that time they could have been taking so many tourists for their dives. The very next day, on the 3rd of May, the tallest human stack underwater. Now all this was not done on a whim. This was done, the trigger was, there is a internationally acclaimed diver named Jacques Cousteau, a French guy, who dived all over the world. He had his own dive ship, his own diving teams, his own underwater photography teams, and everywhere he dived, he made movies and documentaries. He made a movie, Andaman's The Invisible Islands, in the mid-90s, in which he said that I have dived all over the world. There are beautiful diving sites all over. But Andamans have the most beautiful underwater habitat, the most beautiful coral ecosystem, the most beautiful marine ecosystem, and it has the greatest potential to be developed as a diving hub. So that was the trigger for this event. Alongside scuba diving, we have identified bird watching, because there are many species of birds which are only on these islands. They are not found anywhere else. There are some birds which are only on one island. They are not found on the other island. The third arena we have identified is your stargazing. And just now I think somebody mentioned orchids, so we will factor that in. So the intention basically is to, whilst we develop all facets of tourism, but within that we identify certain niche segments which nobody else has. Similarly, cruise tourism is again, this is I think in December this ship had come in here, but this again is at this point in time underdeveloped or not yet developed area. We have to work on it and get this up to speed quite a bit. Now, before I conclude, I want to make one quick reference to 2 points, which at this time are, I think, work in progress, but depending on how they unfold, and that will all happen within the next 1 year or so, they have the potential of providing an overlay over this entire discourse that I have said over the past couple of minutes to alter the geostrategic significance of all of this in a most unprecedented manner. And the first is the Thailand Land Bridge project. Now all of you are familiar with the Malacca Strait Transit Strait. In fact, the entire argument is based on what the traffic through the Malacca Strait is. For many, many years, the Kras-Thamas Canal project was talked about. But because nothing happened, it, I think, got swept under the carpet and the public, discourse. Everyone lost track of it. Till it has surfaced, again, not known to many, just 2 months ago. And now, instead of a canal, there is going to be a land bridge. Over on the Andaman Sea side, there will be a port coming up called Ranong. On the Gulf of Thailand side, there will be another port coming up called Chumphon. The distance apart is only 45 kilometers. There will be multi-train tracks for high-speed container movement. There will be pipelines for transfer of fuel, oil, gas, petrol, crude, whatever. There will be multi-layered road tracks. There will be air connectivity. There will be digital connectivity. And what are the implications of this for us? This is on along the 10th parallel. Now if you extend the 10th parallel east, in 300 kilometers, you are into South China Sea. So therefore, South China Sea is now on your doorsteps, or the other way around, depending on how you look at it. Now you extend the 10th parallel westwards, and it passes smack between the Andaman group of islands and the Nicobar group of islands. So now you are not only dominating the state of Malacca, you are dominating every conceivable passage which connects the Indo to the Pacific. And all of you can visualize the significance of that, what it will bring to the table once it becomes operational. This is going to be offloaded by Thailand purely on PPP mode, including bidding by foreign countries. All of you can imagine which country will get this, and at the speed at which that country executes, as to how long will this take. The distance is, like I said, only 45 kilometers. There are agencies which, including in India, execute highways twice that length in 1 day. So that is the speed at which this is going to happen. The second one is offshore oil exploration. Now for a territory that has got 1/3 the country's EEZ and 1/4 the coastline, till about 6 years ago, virtually no offshore oil exploration took place in Andaman waters. And that was on account of the entire waters around Andamans having been classified as no-go zone, because they might fall in the trajectory of missile launches from DRDO missile launches from Wheeler Island and ISRO rocket launches from Sriharikota. So we took it up very, very proactively 2018, 2019 onwards, that listen, technology now permits you to waypoint these vehicles in such a manner that they don't fly over the Andamans. So all that was extended. Entire stretches of waters were taken out of the no-go zone. Fast forward to end of last year, Oil India in SVP2, Sri Vijaya Puram 2, struck oil, gas, 87% methane. 27th January this year, ONGC struck in A&D P1, crude condensate, and just now, you would have seen the minister's tweet, Minister Hardeep Puri's tweet, on the 7th of June, in Oil India again in SVP3. Now the auction under OALP 10 and 11, that is offshore area licensing body, essentially bidding out of blocks for oil exploration, 10 and 11. The largest ever blocks are currently under auction, amongst which the largest are in the Andaman Basin. And the joint venture talks are going on of these oil majors. Some of the JVs are already in operation with BP, British Petroleum, ExxonMobil, Shell, Petrobras Brazil, etc. Now, why would all of them want to come there? So this is a space that again needs to be watched, which may transform this entire region, not only the region, for the country. You would have seen the ministers declarations of potentiality of going into 20 trillion GDP, of this becoming a Guyana-like point. So with that, I come to the end of my talk, and I once again compliment the organizers for having thought about this event, which I hope starts bringing these matters center stage in the national discourse. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.
Honorable Lieutenant Governor, thank you very much for sharing your vision for the islands with us here at this gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege to invite Honorable Union Minister Shri Kiran Rijiju to deliver the keynote address.
Admiral D.K. Joshi Saab, the Lieutenant Governor of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the senior officers present here, Ravindra Singh Yadav ji, the DGP, Deputy Commissioner of South Andaman, Purva Garg, Tuhin Sinha ji, the BJP National Spokesperson, and Anil Tiwari ji, the State BJP President, Raghunath Kulkarni ji, and especially those friends who have invited me here, the organizers of this very important summit, and rightly called the Great Andaman Ideas Summit. And the discussion which you had focused on, I have just realized that you really had a great brainstorming. And this afternoon I had a small chat with some of the people, and I realized that everybody is worked out and ready to take off. And the Lieutenant Governor just made a very elaborate but in a shorter format. He had made a detailed presentation. Through that you can understand what is the thinking of the government of India and why Lieutenant Governor Joshi Saab is here for a record period of time. We need him. He is a man on the ground. We have very efficient team working here to execute the projects. But we all know when you work for the country, when you want to do something for the country, it is not the government alone. We are all partners. We are only sitting in the government by virtue of being elected by the people. Otherwise, whether you are in the government or out of government, it doesn't matter. We all have to come together and ensure that we execute those necessary works which are in the vital interest of the nation necessary. I think you had a very elaborate discussion about so many things. I have not really thought about what I should be speaking about. Normally I go to this kind of summit and I sit for some time and I speak whatever is already there in my mind. I don't make up my mind, see points and speak. I try to bring out what is already in existence for a long time, my idea, and to tune my idea with the need of the time. I'll try to make very brief observation about the whole thing which you have gathered here for. Normally, when a country grows, it is actually the people who grow. geography, natural resources, these are extremely important. But these are as good as you utilize them. India is, I feel, one of the fortunate amongst the nations to exist in where it is. If you see the map, the world map, the location of India is very unique. Down south, the peninsular India is a sharp peninsula which really takes care of both the seas and then entrains inside, deep inside Indian Ocean. And if you see Ladakh, it is actually part of Central Asia geographically. The Ladakh Plateau is the beginning of the entire Central Asia, the Khotan, the Western China, and then Afghanistan and beyond. So India is also geographically there in the Central Asia. And if you see Northeast, actually when we talk about Southeast Asian 10 countries, it begins from India, Northeast India. The contiguity of the entire geographical stretch from Northeast, the whole Southeast Asia begins. Geographically, climatically, and in every sense, Northeast India actually merges well with Southeast Asia. And then you see the vast, the Western India flatland, the Thar desert of Rajasthan. Now we are fortunate to have found lots of oil and gas there. And then finally you come to Andaman and Nicobar Islands. I have thought about it ever since I was very young. We are extremely fortunate to have this Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Very well explained by the Lieutenant Governor. There are more than 50% of the countries in the world whose total distance from east to west is few minutes to couple of hours drive. And to drive from the southern point of Andaman Islands to the northern point, it is not 1-2 hours. It is 8 hours, 9 hours drive. Just imagine you are driving in such a long stretch, beautifully created by the nature. And then these islands are so fortunate that it's full of life. Otherwise, we know there are so many islands which are barren. This is full of life. We got adequate rainfall. Water is life. Any stretch of land without rainfall is no use. Look at the entire Midwest Australia. Nothing exists there. Not even the insects, because it's completely dry. So this is so gifted that it gets enough rain. You don't need rivers, as Lieutenant Governor mentioned about there's no land, no rivers in this land. You don't need. You get so much of abundant rainfalls that itself is more than enough. The only thing is you have to manage water conservation, water reservation, and then whatever you have to do. So this long stretch right from the southern part of Nicobar to the northernmost part close to Coco Island, this is not only a huge chunk of territory, but this is strategically, I think, one of the most critical in today's global scenario if you see. But I feel nobody has thought about. Today I was attending one of the public meetings. I had briefly mentioned there why we are at this position. Why? Why Lieutenant Governor is talking about we should do this? Why we have not done so far? I think we have terribly wasted last 60, 65 years. It all comes from mindset. I'm terribly upset because the way in which we have taken, our country down to the drains. This mindset is very critical. Otherwise, there are so many countries extremely rich, mineral resources, big land, but poor people. There are some countries which don't have any resources, but they are rich people. It's the people actually which make the country. Geographical features are a part of the thing which you can utilize it if it is in your advantage, otherwise you face the disaster. So, we, the Indians, have let down ourselves. So, the mindset in which we are governing ourselves, we are taking care of ourselves, is leading nowhere. That is why Andaman and Nicobar is treated as a most remote areas. You tell me why an IS officer, IPS officer posted in Andaman and Nicobar is treated as hard posting, difficult posting, and once you are posted in Andaman Nicobar, you are entitled to stay in Delhi for next 4 years because he has served in hard area posting. A person posted in Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, is treated as hard posting, difficult time. And now you come back to Delhi, Chandigarh, Goa, you get soft posting. I really don't understand, even in the bureaucracy is what the people, we think like that. It is not the bureaucracy as such. We think like that these are isolated areas. Then why you have made it isolated, remote area? Why have you treated Arunachal Pradesh as a remote area, distant, those territories from Delhi? In the process, the northeast people themselves have distanced from Delhi because you have treated them distant. If you have treated Andaman and Nicobar as a far-flung remote areas, same will people look that we are okay, we are far from Delhi, so we don't exist in the minds of the people who rule the India. Because those people, they think that they are the rulers. We changed this concept in 2014. We are here to do seva, to serve the people. We are not rulers. We are democratically elected people, but we are not the rulers. We have to serve the people. So the whole mindset, Modi ji's leadership shifted in 2014. I remember on the first day when we gathered, in the evening we had to take the oath as ministers. So the first line Modi ji told us, we had a very small group of ministers to begin with in 2014, the first batch. We were 44 ministers, including the Minister of States and the cabinet. So Prime Minister just said that, see, we have got the mandate, but we will not serve as rulers. We will serve as servants. And we will change the destiny of this country. We will not go as usual. We attained independence in 1947, but we have not become prosperous. We have not become rich. All those countries, small countries, all those countries have attained 10,000, 15,000 per capita dollar income. Countries like Singapore, which got established in 1960, today is more than $1 lakh per capita income. So I don't even talk about Singapore. This is beyond any comprehension. South Korea, close to $40,000 per capita. We are still lingering at 2,800. That means we actually did nothing. Whatever Britishers had left behind, we even could not maintain that. What did we achieve in last so many years of independence? If you start comparing what we have achieved from 2014 to 2026, you will see the difference. Today, the toxic digital world, the social media, which really have done lots of damage because of the toxic political campaign or misinformation campaign which is going on, this may take away your focus. But if you genuinely, peacefully sit, think and identify the differences between the government before 2014 and our government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, you will see a vast difference. Today, I don't have to think twice to go to Itanagar because I board the flight in Delhi and 3 hours time I am already in my capital. 10, 15 years back I have to think, plan either to take flight via Calcutta or through Guwahati, then take chopper. If weather is bad, drive for 14 hours to reach Itanagar. If I have to go to my hometown, I drive for 22 hours. In just a decade time, how much things have changed. In my state, the only point where the road is up to border was in Tawang, Bumla. That is where you can reach up to the border point. And the road was constructed by the Chinese. While occupying the entire stretch of western Arunachal Pradesh, they built a road from Bumla to Tawang. We have just used it. Can you imagine it? And now, you can go to every district border point. Because in last 12 years, the infrastructure and the connectivity in which we have managed and succeeded is transformational. So same way, when we talk about Andaman in different perspective, the strategic importance and other things which LG Saab has rightly mentioned, I feel time has changed. And it is in this cusp of history when we are taking a great leap forward, this kind of summit which you have come together with like-minded thinking, right approach, you are gathering here, I think it will make world of difference because you are the players, you are the real players in this whole game from different sectors, from the business community or from the social sector, from the government. We all are going to work together. That is why I also agreed to come here and just make myself present here. As I said, I don't want to prepare a very technically perfect speech. So I thought I will just make few random remarks rather than giving whole new idea about what should be done because you know what is to be done. You are gathering here to form a team. So I have really not prepared any kind of a speech in a formal sense. Now what we have done to galvanize the people's idea and translate into realities, we changed the mindset in which we were functioning in the past. I had worked in opposition party for a very long time. Some of the critical areas were totally left unattended. I used to question the government, the government of those days. There were never satisfactory answers or response from the government. Today, we are there right in front of you to work together as a team. We need not be questioned, we are there. And then the new generation, they may not know what we had faced in the past. I have been in the politics for a long time. I have already fought 8 elections. I know the difficulty in which we used to carry ourselves. So 2014 and 2026, it's 12 years. So those people who were born after 1990 and they attain the age of voting rights, they will not understand. Because these days I meet the college students, the youth, they don't know. They can't even imagine a life without mobile phone or a village without roads, a village without electricity. They can't even fathom, they can't have even the sense. Because Modi ji came and we transformed. Today we are all at one level. What Lieutenant Governor is watching, same thing is being watched by another person living in little Nicobar, Nicobar Island. The digital transformation has made everybody equal. And in the process, we have also ensured that whatever we launch the campaign, it is not the government campaign, it should be people's movement. That is why right from the Jan Dhan to simple campaign like Fit India movement, Khelo India, these are movement which is actually led by the people. I remember when we wanted to transform the sporting ecosystem in the country, the Khelo India was launched. Then Prime Minister Sahab told me that sports is for all, but then everybody doesn't play sports. So let us do something for fitness. Then this Fit India movement idea came up and we launched it. And today I could see there's a craze in the country, especially amongst the youth, to remain fit. Because if you are unfit, then you are useless. It's simple. You spend entire income, whatever you have earned, for your health in the later part of your life. So it's better to be healthy and live longer. So likewise, when we launch certain important government schemes and government programs, initially we were ridiculed. Especially I was mentioning today about the Jan Dhan Khata. The financial inclusivity was totally a long distant dream. Can you imagine 80% of Indians did not have bank accounts till 2014. So we went all out to ensure that everybody gets a bank account. So we were ridiculed that who will put the money in the account? A poor man can have a bank account, but where will the money come? We said, it is the beginning. So Prime Minister Modi ji's planning is not in compartmental. It's always long term. So Jan Dhan was open, digital campaign launched, through mobile service, through Aadhaar. Today, Rajiv Gandhi's old slogan is already old. He actually surrendered, saying that only 15% reaches the beneficiary. So when Prime Minister says that 15% ही पहुँचता है, 100 रुपया भेजेगा तो 15 रुपया ही पहुँचता है. So it is a very surrendered statement by the Prime Minister that हो नहीं सकता है, कुछ हो नहीं सकता है. So this is how we had functioned in the past. Today, with the sense of accountability and transparency, we have changed the entire governance itself. So initially when Prime Minister used to say maximum governance and minimum government, basically it's the same team, same bureaucracy, same resources, but we have achieved the speed and scale which we were just dreaming about. When I was young, I used to travel across the globe. Before becoming Member of Parliament, I had completed the entire globe. Gaurav Sawan knows that. So when I traveled more than 155 countries, then I realized that some of the countries, neither they have the resources, nor they have the history. Some of the countries are geographically so isolated, but they are doing very well. But in India, we were struggling. And then slowly, I started realizing it is the people, actually. It is the people who makes the difference. Government is just an extension of the people. Normally, people tend to blame the government. Government as such is what? People say, oh, a politician log aisa hai, bureaucrats, officer aisa hai. In that way, you blame everybody. A businessman log sab aisa hi hota hai. They tend to blame each other and blame everyone. But actually, the politicians have what? They don't have their own character. A politician's character is a reflection of the society he belongs to. You send one among you only. Officer is one among the citizens only. So we tend to blame the system, we tend to blame the people. Actually, it is we. As Indians, we all had actually failed. Probably we didn't get the right direction, or we didn't get the sense how to make a country great. India deserves to be a great nation because of the amazing history which you see, the ancient Indian history and up till now. When I went to China in 2008, I realized when I went to central China, in Xi'an, they said, we got everything from India. Our knowledge, our Buddhism, all this wisdom, they have come from India. So they look at India and Indians in a different way. When I was carrying the relics of Lord Buddha to Mongolia, they treated Indians at a different level because they look India spiritually. So when you have the faith with spirituality, then your respect is there at the next level. You are not looking diplomatically as a nation to nation. You are looking to India with respect, with lots of reverence. The way Muslims look at Saudi Arab, Makkah and Medina, that is what the whole world, every Buddhist, there are 1 billion Buddhists unregistered in the world. Their ultimate dream is to come to India once in lifetime. Even if we get 2% of that population, we become the most visited nations on the planet. Then why it is that the whole of India receives 1/3 of the total visitors Bangkok receives? Singapore receives 3 times, 4 times of the total visitors we receive in India. We have so many international airports. Guwahati airport is altogether different. If you go to Guwahati, Northeast, it's a different world. Somebody goes to Goa, you don't need to come to Delhi. Somebody comes to Delhi, he goes to Agra, North India, he will not know what Chennai is like. Or somebody wants to enjoy the beautiful culture of Rajasthan or the beautiful, those Sundarbans in West Bengal, or the spirituality spread across Himalayas. Every place in India is so filled with potentials to offer. So I was mentioning only about the Buddhism. Now every year people go to Hajj in Saudi Arab. We also send the Muslims. It is ultimate wish to visit Saudi Arab for Hajj. Same thing is for every Hindu wants to come back to India. Once I was in Bali, they said our wish is to visit our real motherland, India. So look at the potential of India. And I have realized that in last few years, these potentials are translating into reality. The wishful thinking is no more there. It is becoming reality. I'm quite happy, but I wish that if we had not wasted those precious 6 decades in the past. Because of my youthful days, I have wasted struggling as an opposition leader, and that was the time I traveled across the globe. Initially, when I started traveling, people used to think that I'm a madman. I went to St. Helena. It's a 7 days by ship from Cape Town. That is where Napoleon was kept, and he died there. The Britishers had tortured him, fed him with mercury. He died there. So I was quite curious that how a great former emperor was brought to that long distant isolated island and made to starve and died. So these were curiosity. So then I realized that the other people have so much of curiosity. They are so curious about India. Then why are we not able to receive? We are not even in the top 15, 20 in the ranking in the world tourism map. But things have changes. Things changes, you know, with the way in which we behave. Prime Minister has made certain appeal. It's working. Today things have changed. So the negative part, which I was completely a dejected person in the past, it is now transforming into positive. So Chidambaram, former one of the longest serving finance minister, had stated when he lost the power, stated on the floor of the house, saying that India cannot become digital. The leader of opposition says that Make in India cannot succeed. The Chidambaram says that what villager and vendor will do with the digital payment. And today India is the largest transaction-wise, most digitally conducted country in the world. Our payment, our transaction, the numbers of people engaged is highest in the world. So these are visible in last few years. So that means the projection which Lieutenant Governor has just given will be reality soon. We will see that these are not isolated dream for Andaman, but this is a country's collective conscience actually to see that these are fulfilled. And secondly, from my side, I would like to offer all kind of support and all kind of coordination, collaboration wherever it is required for such gathering, for such kind of a thinking. The right thinking people coming together is always, result oriented. It will lead to something good. Today, those people, I had a short interaction in the hotel. I think we need to sit sometime, maybe in the near future in Delhi or elsewhere also. My doors are open. We can always discuss. As I said, I have not come to make a very formal speech. I just thought I'll just make random reference and observation and just make myself comfortable by being present here, because I felt nice that I was invited, and keeping this spirit that when I am invited, I must do the honor of attending. And tomorrow is International Day of Yoga. I have kept it the program here, and my day was very fulfilling. I went to the Swaraj Deep, formerly it was known as Havelock. I had a very nice scuba diving there today. So my scuba diving today was to promote tourism, to promote the activities which are being done here, not to block the futuristic project. So the Great Nicobar project, if it gets its required support from everybody, if we get the project on time, I think it is one of those transformational projects of our nation. It's a huge project, not only cost-wise, but strategically in terms of importance. It is one of the defining project ever conceived by the government of India. It's a mega project, and people need to really go deep inside and see it. It will ensure the protection of the environment. It will ensure the wildlife, the ecosystem is well protected. Our laws are very strong. At the same time, it will unleash the potential which this area offers. And it will have a transformational impact to the neighboring countries also. That is the level of its importance. And in this kind of situation, citizens need to sensitize. I was sad that it became a point of politicking. I know there are huge numbers of bodies which are working against India's growth. A big number. I have been in government for a long time. I know sometimes even if we speak out also, people don't understand. Some people don't understand. Inside the country, we have certain groups and certain elements which are working very hard, but they are being fueled by the external agencies. The world is very complicated. Today, It is not same as in the past. All the decisions are not commercial these days. Every decision is strategic. If I have to sell you coal, I don't see how much profit I'll get. I'll see that whether the country is behaving as per my interest, my requirement. Every commercial decision has become strategically decided decision. It's not in isolation. It's not commercial anymore. A country can just blockade the supply chain anytime. In such time, if we don't leverage our strategic advantage, when will we wake up? We will never wake up if we don't. This 21st century first quarter is going to decide the fate of the entire 21st century. And if we miss this opportunity, we may miss the bus forever. So it is extremely critical project, the Great Nicobar project. And for me, who has been traveling across the globe since childhood, I feel that this is the moment we have to seize. And we have a right man here as a Lieutenant Governor. Many things which we would have, done lots of struggling in terms of convincing the people. Lieutenant Governor is doing very well because he has been here before LG and he is here as LG for a long time, and then he will be involved here for the long time in future too. And then of course, we have very good set of people here, the officers, the public leaders are here, very understanding, positive. And on top of that, I must once again thank the stakeholders and the people involved in today's this summit, this meeting. It's very useful and it's going to be very critical. You will realize yourself how much good service you are doing for the country by involving yourself in such important projects. This is a wonderful gathering. My best wishes to the entire team, and as I had stated earlier, I will always offer my service whenever it is necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sri Kiran Rijiju, for sharing such a compelling vision for the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. I would now request the Honorable Union Minister to kindly come up on stage for a quick conversation with Gaurav Sawant.
देखिए, जब बात अंडमान और निकोबार की हो रही है, इसको लेकर एक विवाद भी है, और विवाद ऐसा नॉर्मल सा नहीं, नेता प्रतिपक्ष उन्होंने एक बड़ा प्रश्न उठाया है। वो कह रहे हैं कि जो पूरा ग्रेट निकोबार आइलैंड प्रोजेक्ट है, किरण रिजिजू जी, ये ग्रीड ओवर ग्रीन है कि करोड़ों पेड़ काट दिए जाएंगे, इतना बढ़िया यहां का प्रिस्टीन रेन फॉरेस्ट है, वो बर्बाद हो जाएगा केवल पैसा बनाने के लिए।
सबसे पहले तो आपको समझना होगा, हमारा देश में कोई मन मर्जी किसी चीज़ को तबाह नहीं कर सकता है। हमारा एनवायरनमेंट लॉ बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है और हमारा सरकार का नीति, प्राइम मिनिस्टर का क्लाइमेट के प्रति, एनवायरनमेंट, वातावरण और पूरे जो हमारा इकोसिस्टम जितना भी, चाहे वो मैरिन लाइफ हो, वाइल्ड लाइफ हो, सारा चीज़ प्राइम मिनिस्टर का लीडरशिप में हम बहुत सेफ हैं। दूसरा, जब हम इतना बड़ा सागर हमारे पास है, हमारा ब्लू इकोनॉमी का कंट्रीब्यूशन क्या है देश का इकोनॉमी में? जब हम ब्लू इकोनॉमी बोलते हैं, हमारा ओशन का, हमारा इतना वास्ट दो सागर और एक हिंद महासागर हमारे पास है, उनका कंट्रीब्यूशन क्या है भारत का जीडीपी में? और अंडमान निकोबार आइलैंड जैसे इतना बड़ा क्षेत्र हमारे पास है, उससे देश के लिए हमने क्या काम किया और देश के लिए क्या लाभ उठाया है? सवाल ये है, इन्वायरमेंट तो एक बहाना है। यहाँ जो नेटिव जितने भी लोग रहते हैं, चाहे वो निकोबार में शॉम्पेन ट्राइब हो, चाहे वो निकोबारिस हो, ग्रेट अंडमानिस हो, जारावास हो, यहाँ नॉर्थ सेंटिनेलिस हो, किसी को आज तक भारत सरकार का जब से आज़ादी से लेकर के आज तक कोई डिस्टर्ब नहीं किया गया है। जहाँ ज़रूरत है वहाँ किया है। यहाँ अधिकारी सब बैठे हैं, उनको मालूम है। यहाँ इन्वायरमेंट का डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हुआ। इतना बड़ा क्षेत्र हमारा यहाँ जो टेरिटरी है अंडमान, यहाँ जो नेसेसरी सेटलमेंट जिसको करना था, हमारा चाहे वेस्ट बंगाल से आए हो, तमिलनाडु से, आंध्र प्रदेश से, अलग अलग जगह से काफ़ी लोग हैं, वो भी पूरा नियम के तहत ही रहता है। वो जाके जंगल नहीं काटते हैं, यहाँ जाके बम नहीं मारते हैं सागर में जा कर के, यहाँ जा कर के इलीगल काम करके स्मगलिंग नहीं करते हैं। वो अपना मेहनत करता है, इन्वायरमेंट का रक्षा करते हैं, यहाँ का नेटिव लोगों का रक्षा करता है। इसलिए ये जो प्रोपोगेंडा राहुल गांधी जी ने जो फैलाया है, वो भारत का भविष्य में जो स्ट्रेटेजिकली जो एक लिवरेज, एक ताकत मिलने वाला है, उसको कैसा रोका जाए, किसी भी तरीके से उसको रोकना है, इसके लिए किया जा रहा है। एक यहाँ डाइविंग किया, उस दिन स्कूबा डाइविंग किया राहुल गांधी जी ने। एक स्कूबा डाइविंग का पीछे 26 करोड़ रुपया खर्चा करके पूरा इकोसिस्टम ने वो न्यूज़ को फैला करके और वो स्कूबा डाइविंग को हमारा मेरीन लाइफ इन्वायरमेंट से जोड़ते हुए जो प्रोपोगेंडा किया, ये सिर्फ भारत में ही नहीं।
26 करोड़ रुपए का खर्चा हुआ आप कह रहे हैं राहुल गांधी के स्कूबा डाइविंग करने में अंडमान निकोबार?
पूरा जो इकोसिस्टम ने खर्चा किया
26 करोड़ रुपए।
आप सोचो कितना बड़ा ताकत इस प्रोजेक्ट को रोकने के लिए ये लोग काम कर रहे हैं। लेकिन देश का नीति, हमारा नेतृत्व का सोच और हमारा जनता अब सब मालूम हो गया। अब आप सरकार में नहीं आ सकता है तो देश का जो ग्रोथ है, हमारा देश का संपत्ति को, हमारा भविष्य को बर्बाद करना क्यों चाहते हैं?
सर, ये तो आप भारत के नेता विपक्ष पर एक बहुत गंभीर आरोप लगा
आरोप
रहे
नहीं है,
हैं
मैं सच बोल रहा हूं।
कि भारत के नेता विपक्ष भारत की प्रगति को रोकने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, साजिश कर रहे हैं।
नेता प्रतिपक्ष ही नहीं बल्कि पूरा इकोसिस्टम। मैं राहुल गांधी जी अकेला नहीं बोल रहा हूं, वो तो एक मोहरा है। इतना बड़ा एक इकोसिस्टम ताकत इस देश में आज काम कर रहा है। कहीं भी डैम बनेगा, पूरा पहुंच जाएगा इन्वायरमेंट के नाम में। कहीं एक खनन होगा, कहीं एक अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट बनेगा, उसको रोकने के लिए इन्वायरमेंट के नाम में वहां पहुंच जाते हैं। एक हाईवे प्रोजेक्ट करेगा, उसको रोकने के लिए पूरा का पूरा उनका प्लाटून पहुंच जाता है। PIL फाइल करेगा, प्रोटेस्ट शुरू कर देगा। ये जो जमावड़ा एक ग्रुप है, इन लोगों ने तो देश को पूरा तबाह करके रखा हुआ है। और इन्हीं लोगों का आशीर्वाद से इतना लंबे समय तक उनका जो सरकार चला था, तो देश को तरक्की के रास्ते में तो लेके नहीं आया। आप जब मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में देखिए जो तरक्की हम लोग कर रहे हैं और भरोसा जनता से हम प्राप्त कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें फ्रस्ट्रेशन होने का कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है। अगर जनता आपको वोट नहीं देते हैं या आप सत्ता में नहीं आया, तो जनता ही भगवान है लोकतंत्र में। तो उसको देश को क्यों गाली करना है? देश का तरक्की को रोकने का कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है।
तो किस तरह से अंडमान निकोबार प्रोजेक्ट का जो GNI ग्रेट निकोबार आइलैंड प्रोजेक्ट है, उससे देश की तरक्की होगी, अंडमान निकोबार की तरक्की होगी, जो उसके न बनने से रुकेगी? और आप उत्तर पूर्व से आते हैं, आप अरुणाचल प्रदेश से आते हैं, तो जो खतरा एक पड़ोसी से भारत को है, वो आप भली भांति समझते हैं। किस तरह से विकास की उन योजनाओं को रोका जा रहा है आपके मुताबिक?
किसी देश को टारगेट करके हम चर्चा नहीं करना चाहते। स्ट्रेटेजिकली जो हमारा एडवांटेज क्या है, कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट जब लगाते हैं भारत सरकार, विशेष करके जो मेगा प्रोजेक्ट, बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट आते हैं, उसको अगर आप अपोज करना है तो आप बारीकी से समझाइए लोगों को। आप बिना तर्क और बिना एक्सप्लेन किए असली वजह, ऐसे ही आप हवा में बोलेंगे कि इन्वायरमेंट बर्बाद करेंगे, ये प्रोजेक्ट से सबको नुकसान होगा, ऐसा हवा में बोल करके आप प्रोजेक्ट रोक नहीं सकते हैं।
नहीं, जैसे 1.5 करोड़ पेड़ काट दिए जाएंगे वहां पर जो, अच्छा आज आपने डाइविंग की, तो जो अंडर सी कोरल है वहां पर, वो वहां डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा। टर्टल की जो वहां पर नेस्टिंग होती है, लेदरबैक टर्टल्स की नेस्टिंग, वो प्रभावित होगी। इस तरह के आरोप लगाए जा रहे हैं।
ये जो आरोप लगाया, इसलिए मैं इसको खंडन करता हूं कि बिना तर्क का आरोप नहीं लगाना चाहिए, खास करके जो जिम्मेदारी पद में बैठे हैं। हम लोग पार्लियामेंट में बात करते हैं, ठीक है, बहस होते हैं, वो ठीक है, मगर राष्ट्रीय हित में कोई प्रोजेक्ट होता है तो उसको विरोध नहीं करना चाहिए। और दूसरी बात, जो ये मैरिन लाइफ, यहाँ जो मैरिन इकोसिस्टम का जो बात करते हैं, ये तो अभी एलजी साहब ने बताया, मैंने आज जाके देखा कितना सुंदर दुनिया है अंदर में, उसको बचाने के लिए हमारा सरकार ही काम कर सकता है, इस पे कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं होगा। लेकिन तरक्की करने के लिए जो प्रोजेक्ट है वो भी तो करना पड़ेगा ना। हम सिर्फ डाइविंग करके तो अपना जिंदगी तो हम पूरा नहीं कर सकते, कई और काम भी करना है। तो डाइविंग भी करना है हमको, वन संरक्षण भी करना है नहीं, मैं तो सही बात बता रहा हूँ, हर चीज करना पड़ेगा ना। इन्वायरमेंट प्रोटेक्शन भी करना है, डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट भी करना है, यहाँ के इंडिजिनियस जो नेटिव है उनका संरक्षण भी करना है, और ये इंडस्ट्री भी आना चाहिए। और यहाँ जो विश्व का सबसे खूबसूरत जो एक पर्यटन का जो सेंटर, टूरिज्म सेंटर बनना चाहिए, वो भी बनना चाहिए, वंचित तो नहीं होना चाहिए। इसलिए ये जो प्रोजेक्ट जो कह रहे हैं, मैं तो ये मानता हूँ उल्टा हम लोगों ने लेट कर दिया है, पहले होना चाहिए था। और जो डीप ओशन में जो हम लोग एक्सप्लोरेशन, आपको मालूम है डीप ओशन मिशन मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में शुरू किया है, समुद्रयान हमारा तैयारी है। मैं उस समय जब अर्थ साइंस मिनिस्टर के रूप में भी काम कर रहे थे, तब भी मैंने जा कर के पूरा सेंटर देखा है। हमारे इंडियन ओशन में मैपिंग भी हुआ है, कहाँ कहाँ हम लोग डीप ओशन में जा कर के मिनरल एक्सप्लोरेशन के लिए जो हम लोगों ने अभी शुरू किया है, और 5000 मीटर से अंदर जा कर के हम लोगों ने जो प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं, ये सारा बहुत तेजी से चल रहा है। पहले कभी भी डीप ओशन मिशन वगैरह कुछ नहीं था।
तो ये कौन सी ऐसी ताकतें हैं जिसका आप जिक्र कर रहे हैं जो भारत के विकास को रोकने की कोशिश कर रही हैं, ये ताकतें, और भारत के अंदर ही लोगों का इस्तेमाल कर रही हैं?
नहीं, यहाँ हमारा देश में एक जो वामपंथी विचारधारा के ग्रुप तो पहले से ही है, कोई भी अच्छा काम इस देश में होना नहीं चाहिए। जब चीन और भारत का लड़ाई हो रहा था 1962 में, उस समय तो पूरा कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी टूट गया। वो कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी में खेमे जो है चीन का सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, वो आपको मालूम है। फिर वो सीपीआई और सीपीएम में विभाजित हुआ। आज भी बहुत बड़ा वर्ग है हिंदुस्तान में जो हिंदुस्तान का तरक्की नहीं दे सकते हैं। वो हम आर्टिकल 370 हटाया, उसको भी विरोध किया। कोई अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट करते हैं तो विरोध करते हैं। तो इनको हम सुधर नहीं सकते हैं, लेकिन जो बाकी अच्छा सोचने वाला, देश के लिए सोचने वाले जितने भी पॉजिटिव लोग हैं, सबका एक साथ आना होगा। ये तो समय आ गया, और अब इस तरह के लोगों को मार्जिनलाइज करना ज़रूरी है। और विशेष करके जो भारत के तरक्की को रोकने के लिए जो तथ्य हैं, उनको डट के मुकाबला करना होगा।
अच्छा, एक प्रश्न और, आप पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर भी हैं, पार्लियामेंट में सबको साथ लेकर चलना ये एक तरह से आपकी जिम्मेदारी भी है। तो क्या राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा के या नेशनल इंपॉर्टेंस के इतने बड़े मुद्दों पर नेता प्रतिपक्ष को आप कन्विंस करेंगे या उनको लेकर चलेंगे कि ये परियोजना क्यों आपकी दृष्टि में अच्छी है?
देखिए, नेता प्रतिपक्ष को मैं समझा नहीं सकता हूँ। उनका माइंड, उनका एक सोच, और उनके पीछे जो लोग लगे हुए हैं, एक एनजीओ ग्रुप्स है जो उनको आइडिया देते रहते हैं, ये करो वो करो। वैसे तो कलीग है तो हम तो बात करते ही हैं और हम लोग मिलते रहते हैं, क्योंकि मैं पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मंत्री होने के नाते मेरा दायित्व भी है, सारा अपोजिशन लीडर के साथ में भी मैं बात करता हूँ, मेरे पास आते हैं, सीनियर लीडर का घर में मैं जाता भी हूँ। मेरे ये दुश्मन नहीं है हमारे, लेकिन जब देश के विरोध काम करते हैं तो मुझे बहुत गुस्सा आता है। वरना तो हमको, आप सरकार को आप क्रिटिसाइज करो, गाली दो, कोई बात नहीं, लोकतंत्र में चलता है। लेकिन राष्ट्र हित में, राष्ट्र के महत्व प्रोजेक्ट को अगर विरोध करता है तो ये मैं एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर सकता हूँ। इसलिए चाहे वो नेता प्रतिपक्ष हो, कोई भी हो, मैं तो बार बार कहता हूँ कि बहस जो भी हम लोग एक दूसरे को करते हैं या विरोध करते हैं वो ठीक है लोकतंत्र में, लेकिन कुछ मुद्दे ऐसे होते हैं जिसमें हमको एकजुट होना ज़रूरी है।
आपने उनको जन्मदिन की शुभकामनाएं भी दी हैं और उन्होंने आपको धन्यवाद भी कहा और कहा जुजुत्सु हो जाए, तो क्या दो दो हाथ हो जाए इस मुद्दे पर उनके साथ? आपको
नहीं,
क्या
ये
लगता
तो
है?
मजाक है। उन्होंने पिछली बार मुझे कहा था कि उनके घर में जिम है तो एक साथ जिम करेंगे। मैंने कहा कि मैंने मजाक में कहा कि आपका साथ मैं जिम नहीं करूँगा, मुझे डर लगता है। तो फिजिकल इशू नहीं है, लेकिन मैंने ऐसे मजाक में कहा। लेकिन चलो, हमारा नेता प्रतिपक्ष से मैंने बर्थडे ग्रीटिंग किया, उन्होंने मजाक किया। लेकिन जो सीरियस बात में मैं मानता हूँ कि अगर आज भी नेता प्रतिपक्ष सुधर के राष्ट्र निर्माण में अगर जुड़ेंगे तो हमको अच्छा लगेगा। मैं तो अपील ही करूँगा, आपके माध्यम से मैं कह सकता हूँ कि आपको जितना जो एंटी इंडिया एलिमेंट्स देश के बाहर जितने भी हैं उन्होंने भी बहुत इस्तेमाल किया। देश में भी कई लोग हैं जो उनको बुलवाते हैं, उनको आगे करते हैं, आप ऐसा करो, सरकार का प्रोजेक्ट का खिलाफ काम करो। मैं समझता हूँ अभी मैच्योर्ड हो गए हैं राहुल गांधी जी, इन सब से दूर रहने से ठीक है और ख़ुद भी सकारात्मक भूमिका निभाने से देश के लिए अच्छा होगा।
आप इस मंच पर मेरे साथ जुड़े, किरण रिजिजू जी, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस से पहले आप यहाँ पर आए और हमसे बातचीत की, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद जी।
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your time, your presence, and your valuable insights, and also setting the record straight on the Great Nicobar project. Thank you, Gaurav Sawant, as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking all our dignitaries, speakers, and everyone present here who've made this summit such a huge success. And of course, the discussions have also been so enriching. And now it's time for a group photograph. So I would request all our distinguished guests, dignitaries, speakers, and moderators kindly join us on stage for a group photograph. Welcome. So this was Thank you, everyone. It was lovely having you all here. As we come to the close of the formal proceedings of the Andaman Ideas Summit 2026, I would like to invite Anamika Karati, and I would also like to congratulate her for this event becoming such a huge success. I would request you to please, deliver the closing remarks as well.
Thank you, Nandita. Good evening, everyone. As we come to the close of this evening, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for being part of the Andaman Ideas Summit and for contributing to its success. At the outset, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude to Honorable Union Minister Sri Kiran Rijiju for graciously joining us from New Delhi and for sharing his valuable insights and visions with us this evening. We are equally grateful to Admiral D.K. Joshi, Honorable Lieutenant Governor of the Andaman and Nicobar Island, for his guidance, support, and encouragement. We also extend our thanks to all the distinguished dignitaries, guests, and participants who took time out of their busy schedules to be with us today. Your presence has enriched this gathering and added depth and value to the conversations we have had. A special word of appreciation to all our speakers and panelists for sharing their time, knowledge, and perspective with such generosity. Their contributions made today's sessions engaging, insightful, and thought-provoking. Heartfelt thank you as well to all our sponsors and partners. Your support has been invaluable, and without your encouragement and contribution, this summit wouldn't have been possible. Last but certainly not the least, I would like to acknowledge my entire team at the Wave Andaman. Behind every successful event is a team working tirelessly behind the scenes. Your hard work, commitment, and passion have been the driving force behind this summit, and this achievement belongs to each one of you. On behalf of all of us, thank you once again for everyone who joined us, supported us, and helped make this evening meaningful and memorable. We hope the ideas shared here and the conversation that began today will continue to inspire thought, dialogue, and action for a stronger and more prosperous future for the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and for our nation. Thank you once again for your presence, your support, your encouragement. Have a wonderful evening and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Anamika. With that, of course, we conclude the formal proceedings of the Andaman Ideas Summit 2026. On behalf of the Wave Andaman, a big thank you to all of you all for joining us on a Saturday evening. It was a great session, great discussions, so many ideas. I'm sure the audience is brimming with new ideas now. Before we head to dinner, I would like to request everyone to kindly rise for the national anthem. And I would request you all to also sing along with me. Jan Gan Man Adhinayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkal Banga Vindhya Himachal Yamuna Ganga Uchchal Jaladhi Taranga तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे जब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे Jaya 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 He Jai. We now invite everyone to dinner and look forward to continuing the conversations informally as well. Have a wonderful evening until we see you again at the next Andaman Ideas Summit. Thank you for coming in.